Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
With Kendrick Bourne, we go a week and we're like, where's Kendrick Bourne?
Yeah.
Training?
I know what happens during the season, too, though.
That's ridiculous.
I like the fact that Steve feels comfortable coming.
What was that?
They have to hand out numbers to everybody. I get it. Nobody should be wearing 32.
Or 87,
Okay.
right?
Really? Come on. Like, where do you draw
Nobody.
the line?
To me, Devin McCourty is bigger than football.
Your argument, no one ever should be Devin McCourty. I get that. But his number is different. You can disagree, but you're wrong. But you can disagree. No.
How do you fight over finances? You got $1 billion.
No. What's the song? I got 9 million problems. Or
Yeah,
whatever
and
it is.
J-Lo ain't one.
It's like
I
saying,
got 9 million.
the Chargers are like the kings of everything that doesn't matter.
Last week, bad show. This week,
No, he's having a very strong show. Very strong show.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right. Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Tuesday here at Gillette Stadium, and as we speak, the Patriots are coming off the practice field. We'll be joined shortly by Evan, by Paul, by Deuce. They're going to be coming in hot because they're at the practice. I had to leave a little early. I have other things to do, as you know, but I'm holding it down until they get here, and once they do, we will get into everything they saw on the practice field. Drake May, Joe Milton, you name it. Everybody that was out there. We'll get into all the details coming up here on Patriots Unfiltered. We have a late start today, as you know, 2:15, so we'll be here until 4:15. 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. And, I'll just start it out. I was there early in practice. First of all, it's a beautiful day here in Foxborough. I think we deserve it. We had so much rain leading up to the last weekend or so, but it's been beautiful. I'd say, on the warm side, probably high 70s, sunny, just a gorgeous day. Practice looked good. I know a lot of people, when we first started going out to these OTAs, were a little worried about, the pace isn't, that fast. It looked better back in the day. Oh, you mean it looked better when you had a coach here that'd been here for 30 years? Okay, I get it. But since then, I think, as Gerard has learned more, kind of got the feeling of the cadence of his, assistants and the different units, I think you can't tell anymore. I think it just looks like, any other practice we've seen in Foxborough, other than the cast of characters. I'm talking about the pace of the practice, the way it looks, how structured it is, how organized it is, units, sections, and you don't see people standing around. I think Evan's fears have been answered when they're doing maybe 11 on 11s. You got Drake May on another field doing 7 on 7, so he's not standing around. He's getting his reps in. So things are looking good. Things are looking good. How that transpires once a season starts, who knows? I have no idea. But right now, things look okay from that standpoint. Other than that, I think it's been quiet on the transaction front. League-wide, the big news this week was Justin Jefferson's contract, which is huge. He becomes now the highest non-quarterback salary ever in the NFL. So I don't know what it averages out to, like $35 million a year, $110 million guaranteed for Justin Jefferson. So that's huge. And, why do I bring that up? Because I think the Patriots are going to be in the wide receiver one market for a while. They're in it now. If someone came available, I think they should get him. They tried to get Calvin Ridley, not to say that he's even in the same stratosphere at this point in his career as Justin Jefferson, but I think whether it's looking at Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins or next year looking at some veteran, I think that, that contract for Jefferson is going to come into play for all the other wide receiver ones from this point on. And it just, gives you the lesson that the longer you wait, the more the price goes up. There's no reason to wait on these contracts. The price is never going to go down. So as I speaking of the price going down, it's Mike Dussault. Deuce, what's going on?
What does that mean? Sorry, I got my hat on here. I look a little...
Yeah, you look a little Charlie Brownish.
Yeah. I got a rock.
Yeah. But anyway.
Drake may get a rock today.
Paul,
No, I'm just kidding.
Paul, you're looking good. You've been losing weight? Are you on the Ozempic?
It's the baby blue.
What? What's that?
I think I found it.
You found
if
it?
I lost it, I think I found
No,
it.
you look good. I hope it's for a good reason.
Oh, a lot of comments on his hat today.
Yeah.
You
A
know.
lot.
Yeah.
And it
He
was
wasn't
totally
here.
unintentional.
And the matching shirt.
I was not, well,
I know.
that was intentional.
Stylish.
Okay.
To like, to dress myself.
So wait
it's
a minute.
intentional.
Are you
but
a guy that
it
in
had
the
nothing
morning-
to do with with Drake May.
In the morning, do you actually say, "Oh, does this match?"
Of course.
Really?
Yeah.
I,
Now,
obviously, I don't.
generally I wear jeans every day, as you
Yeah,
know,
so-
so like you don't have to worry about matching it. But
Right.
I wouldn't wear like, a pair of blue khakis with, like a blue shirt.
Chinos?
See, I would.
Blue
but
chinos?
What about
I don't know
chinos?
blue
underwear?
chinos. Underpants?
Briefs or
Oh, we're just
Yeah.
breaking it down.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. So the people.
So did you get food?
No, I didn't. It's past my lunchtime.
Okay, so you don't want anything?
No.
All right.
Utah.
You gonna get?
Yeah,
something?
Mike and I are gonna get
Utah.
Where
Give
you
me
gonna-
two.
Where you gonna go?
I was thinking of this place. It has sandwiches. It has some pizza.
Are they on time?
Sides. They have sides like fries and onion rings and things.
Sounds delicious.
I think it's pizza time.
Give it a
Alright,
try.
okay.
Give it a try. We'll
We
see
should
how
give it a
goes.
try.
Give it a shot. But people want to know what happened.
Yeah.
I left early, so I'm counting on you
Oh, yeah.
guys to be my eyes and ears. Tell me what you saw.
All right, so we got a lot of red zone work today and third down, which red zone, Paul. We always start. The
You
red
always see
zone,
that early
right?
in training camp.
Early in
Got a
training
little
camp,
preview today.
and it looked kind of like it has the last couple of years. To be honest, it wasn't like the Patriots offense was lighting up the Patriots defense. A lot of balls on the ground. Drake May had a couple interceptions during competitive periods. He described one of them, which we can get into. But, I don't want to freak everybody out because this is OTAs and yada, yada, yada. But not a lot of great connections. There were a handful of good connections in the red zone. But overall, I would say clunky day for the offense. Not a lot of chemistry.
And I'm going to go back to the Belichick adage that he always preached about the time of year and, about the teaching. And it was really sort of on display. Like talking to KJ Osborne a little bit after practice. A lot of the stuff they were doing in the tight red zone, low red zone, was stuff that they're just learning.
They just installed.
They're literally just learning it on the on the board in the meeting rooms this morning, running it on air. Which, by the way, it didn't go very well against air. Before they got together for both 7-on-7s and 11-on-11. So Mike is right. The offense was clunky. That's a good word. The ball was hitting the ground a lot, but I wouldn't necessarily read too much into it.
Okay. Evan, you agree?
For the most part, I think the biggest thing that I see right now is 7-on-7 looks different than 11-on-11. When the line play starts to get into it, and then all of a sudden you got Christian Barmore coming at you, or you got a blitz coming off the edge, they're not picking things up very well with the offensive line right now. I think the biggest thing is that you have to wait till the pads come on because you're not really right now. You're blocking with your feet. You're not really actually hitting anybody. So it's a little bit harder to block for the offensive lineman in this setting. So we've seen this before where the line looks really shaky and then it does start to progress maybe a little bit. Also should note, a couple guys missing.
Yeah, quite a few absences
today.
Yeah.
No Chuksa Okorafor, no Mike Onwenu. So you're missing your top two tackles, and you're going out there and you're still trying to block guys. So there's a lot of caveats to all this kind of stuff, but I think the biggest thing that I see is that 7-on-7 looks great, 11-11
Just
not
to
so
clarify, when you say block guys, there's
Yeah.
no contact, right?
much.
Right.
So
Okay.
So we're not actually blocking guys. We're
Yeah.
just kind of shuffling our feet
Yeah.
and trying to stay, in front of dudes. And eventually, that's going to give way. It's not going to be this pristine pocket when you're playing like that. I think the other thing that KJ Osborne mentioned, I know we're trying to not have everybody panic over the clunkiness, I think is a good word, of the offense today. But he mentioned that he played in this offense in Minnesota for a couple years early on in his career as Norv Turner, outside zone scheme. And the marriage of the run game and the pass game is such a big part of it that until the pads come on and the run game can start to take hold and then you get play action off the run game, that's how they create a lot of what they want to do. So it's not gonna be a finished product in terms of judgment until we see them actually running the football as an emphasis and then play action and then you do all the other bells and whistles.
Okay. How about the fluidity of the wide receivers? And I'm talking about mostly Polk and Bell. I mean, how?
Baker.
Baker,
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, Baker.
How are they looking?
Yeah, Baker was limited today. He warmed up and then he was down on the lower field, so he didn't really participate. That was a little same with Marcellus Dial. Similar, was there for stretching but did not. So a couple rookies seems like a little bit maybe banged up, but fluidity. I don't know. That's a good question. No, I mean, I don't think. I think the more I see Polk, the more I feel like along Evans' line of he's got to play with some guys trying to tackle him. He's not going to show up with live feet. But I do think KJ Osborne had a pretty good day. Haven't seen a lot from him over some of these OTA practices, and felt like he was finally starting to show up, make some plays. But a lot of rotation going on too. I mean, Evan mentioned the offensive line was kind of banged up, but it was kind of spin the dial no matter who was a quarterback, who was, so all that kind of like rep stuff. I mean, definitely was Drake May getting kind of the second reps.
He got more reps today, I think, than the other practice that I saw.
Yeah. Yep. He was the second guy up in 11s and 7s.
So wait a minute, May was number 2 up?
Yes. Yeah, in the 11-on-11 drill, the 7-on-7 drill.
You buried the lead.
Yeah, I didn't sit
but
down
it also,
first.
but it also in 7s it went Brissett, May,
We're just trying to give you information as opposed to what's going to click.
Yeah, Zappy.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why that would click.
Yeah. So, I mean, a little bit, but, still getting some Milton reps and still getting some Zappy reps, but it definitely wasn't, Brissett, then Zappy.
Okay.
It was kind of mixed up
Like
a little bit.
The bulk of the reps still went to Brissett.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was Brissett, May,
We're
Brissett,
burying the lead here.
What?
Zappy.
He was the second team quarterback.
Okay.
He was. How else would you if you divvy up the reps? He went second in the drill.
I think that's
you added
that's
up
a
all
change
the
from
reps.
what we've seen so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right now, it could be just this particular day, as we know. We don't see every practice, so maybe this was just his day to get number 2 reps.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he downplayed it a little bit afterwards and said that they want to work with different guys, work with different receivers and stuff like that. So, today it might have been Drake May. You're right. Today could have been Drake May's day to be QB2, and then tomorrow would be Bailey Zappi's day to be QB2, just so that the cycle of receivers, you're not working with the same 3 or 4 guys over and over.
Yep.
You spread it out a little bit.
It did seem, too, like they gave a last set of reps to Jacoby after kind of a clunky period. Defense won, for what it's worth with the push-ups and those kind of things. But, again, those reps were clunky again, too, at the end. So it almost felt like they gave him one last chance to kind of go out there and do it. And, just, it's not clicking yet for them.
Defensive coaches made available before practice.
Offense.
I'm sorry,
Yep.
offense. Oh, God.
Yep.
It's my problem. Anyway. Offensive coaches made available. Van Pelt talked at length at the podium, but everybody was, in a scrum with people. Anybody say anything of note that you heard in particular?
I mean, I just start off with Alex Van Pelt seeming like he has a very firm sense of what he's looking for and how he wants to put it into place. And, even going back to Osborne talking about running in this offense, I think that's what's coming to the forefront for me is that this is an established offense that he knows what he wants to run. And, we'll see if they're able to put it together. But I do think, last year we had a little bit of a false hope, I guess, with Bill O'Brien coming back, and it felt like, all right, he's going to know what he wants. But I'm not sure he was in the position to fully execute what he really wanted last year. And, I think with Van Pelt, I'm hoping that he does. But he just seems very clear on what he wants. I talked a little bit to Bicknell. I don't know if you guys talked to any of the other guys, but, what he's seen out of Bell so far.
Again, not a reason to panic and no disrespect intended, but Gerard Mayo came right out and said, I don't know what I'm doing on offense. So I think it is Alex Van Pelt's offense, and he is going to be able to do what he wants to do, until it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think, the biggest things, I listened to Van Pelt for a while, but I bounced around after that, and I think the couple big things did seem like they're pretty happy with Drake May's footwork and the progress he's made with his footwork.
T.C. McCartney talked. I was looking for the quote here, but I don't think I wrote it down.
Yeah, it seemed like they were pretty excited that he's made as much progress in the period of time that he has, and they haven't touched his throwing motion, his upper body mechanics, anything like that. They're kind of doing it in steps, and I go from the ground up, footwork first, and then maybe tweaks to the other things later on. But right now the focus is on let's time the feet and the eyes. Let's make sure those things are timed up, and then we can start maybe tweaking with some of the other things that we would like to change. But overall, I thought that they were both, Van Pelt said flat out Jacoby's the starter right now, as we all know, but I think they were pretty happy with what they've seen from Drake May so far.
Yeah, and I would say that a good sign, and it might be a minor thing, but like when Drake May talked at the end of practice, he used a lot of the same terminology that both Alex Van Pelt, and more specifically, I thought T.C. McCartney used what Evan just said, talking about marrying the eyes and the feet and the timing and the routes. And that's one of the things that I thought May was really looking. I think he was asked a question, some of the things that he feels like he may be on schedule or ahead as opposed to some of the things that he needs to work on. And he talked about some of that timing stuff being, some of the stuff that he's been working on and feels good about, and then sort of getting the plays called, spitting them out in the huddle, the operation, whatnot, is something that is still coming, because Van Pelt talked about, like, with so many of these guys, they never did that. They never called plays in a huddle.
Yeah.
They do it a lot at the line of scrimmage. So I thought it was a positive sign to hear May using the same kind of words that Evan just used from the coaches. So obviously it's sinking in. He's getting the message.
Yep. Good stuff. All right, so 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. If you have any specific questions you want to ask about what was seen today, call in, write in. We'll get to that. What else do you guys want to discuss while we're setting the table here? I mentioned on the top Justin Jefferson's deal because I think it has a ripple effect throughout the league. I
don't know how many specifics I want to get into, but I think there's some really interesting stuff with kickoffs going on, and I have a feeling that a lot of teams are figuring it out and trying to figure out how they're going to attack this. I forget, Paul, we were talking which team said
Kansas City
not
even
going to
use
put
Butker as a kicker.
Butker because you need somebody to tackle. So I don't want to give anything away, but you're seeing some similar experimentation by the Patriots, and I don't really know what to expect. It almost seems like these teams are all going to kind of come into this season with their own plan as to how they're going to approach the kickoffs, and I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens.
It's a rare special teams thing that I have. I don't know.
A little bit of interest.
1% of interest.
Well,
same here.
I'll give you a little behind-the-scenes stuff. And I'll drop a name. I was having lunch with Ernie Adams when we were shooting the schedule release video, and we're eating our salad. And I said, Ernie, I'd really love to pick you and Bill's brain and see what you would cook up for this new kickoff. And he looks up, and he's like, a lot of it's going to have to do with blocking and blocking schemes that you come up with. I said, and I think if you can do it right, I think you're going to break some. He goes, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it
feels like it could go either way.
Yeah.
Some of the ones that we saw today were pretty rough in terms of the blocking. But again, you can't really block anybody, so you're just kind of a speed bump anyways. But then there were a couple that it seemed like they got the seal that they wanted and kind of broke it a little bit. But the different, we can't really tell you the different X's and O's of what they were doing.
Don't get us in trouble.
But it was a lot of, you can see like what Deuce is saying, that there's experimenting with some different things that.
Well, they're experimenting how they're kicking the ball.
Even down to that.
So let me get, and if you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know. But are the rules that no one can move until the ball is caught
or hits the ground? Yeah.
Right. So everyone, like when I mean still, I don't mean like, motion still, but like you can't cross the line.
No, still. I don't think you can move.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a false start.
It's like a snap.
You're at the line. The only guy that's moving is the kicker. The other 10 guys have to be stationary, I believe.
Okay, and then once the ball hits the ground or is caught, that's the snap.
Go time.
That acts as the snap of the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think
And what about spacing?
Well, it's everybody's in that 10-yard box, right?
Have to be in a 10-yard box.
There's a certain amount of guys, I can't remember off the top of my head, that have to be on each side of the ball, just like there would be in a normal kickoff.
And does it matter where the ball receiver is? Can he be as far back as he wants? Does he have to be within
No, there's a landing zone.
There's a landing zone that he has to be in.
Yes.
Okay.
And
you would need to be in, I think you would want to be in the zone where the ball's going to get kicked.
No, I know, but can you start for example, further back and get a running start type of thing?
If you wanted to. It's a little bit more like a punt in that aspect.
Okay.
At least of what we've seen of it so far and what you see it in the spring leagues and stuff like that, it feels a little bit more like a punt because of just the way that the ball comes down and then everybody's, kind of coming down on you.
Yeah.
I think the big thing with it is going to be obviously the blocking schemes and what's the best way to kind of create those alleys for these guys to run through, because the team that's covering the kick gets on you really, really quickly. And that's what I think we saw a little bit of today, was a lot of early penetration of this guy's he's just got a 10-yard sprint, and if there's nobody in his way, then he's through the line of scrimmage and that's it. right? And then all of a sudden you could really be in a position where you're backed up because your kickoff guy gets tackled pretty quickly. So I think that's the biggest question is like, because you can't move until the ball is caught or hits the ground, you have to have eyes on the ball, first of all, which we saw some little tricks that they were using today of how to keep some guys kind of know when the ball hits the ground, right? Because if everybody's facing this way and their back is to the returner, then they have no idea when he's got the ball.
I think, like you said, how do you kick it? How do you block it? But also from a returner standpoint, there's probably strategy. Do I wait a half a beat and let them declare and then make my move? Or do I just do what they tell me and assume that the blocks are going to be there, sort of like as a running back? I think there's strategy there from a returning standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's what you said the word, Fred. That's what's interesting to me. A lot of time these rule changes happen and it's like, oh, we're just trying to get rid of the kickoff. But this feels like there actually are going to be competing strategies that each team's going to enter the season with that you're probably going to have to see some course corrections, because I wonder if some teams have it totally wrong, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe, it's all going to maybe even out and generally the returns will be the same. But I maybe one team's got some kind of unique thing up their sleeve that all of a sudden everybody's going to steal. Just such a unique moment in sports where all of a sudden a whole part of the game is going to change. And strategically, you don't know exactly, especially like going into, like, do you hide it in the preseason too? Like, do you, even those, are you trying to keep those things to yourself?
Or do you feel you have to practice it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to me too is like the type of returner that you put back there. I think changes now because I think you're going to have to make the first guy miss. I don't think you're going to consistently get the first guy blocked the way that the strategy is. So with a typical kickoff, you have like that straight line Jalen Reagor type of speed. Yeah. But now I feel like you almost need that Marcus Jones like jitterbug back there, because he's going to have to find the daylight. It's not going to be as simple as just, one cut and go or type of thing. So I wonder if that changes it too, where you have to have somebody back there that's a little bit elusive. Like, you're not going to be able to just.
And are you allowed to like match up pre-snap? For example, I know he's not in the league anymore, but if Aaron Donald was one of the guys in the line, he's going to beat his man. So are you allowed to, there's Aaron Donald, okay, our best blocker, you run down there and match up with him? Like, are you allowed to do that?
That's a great question.
And you don't have that far to run to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're so close together now.
Yeah.
And it falls kind of under the category when you started this. I don't know. And I don't know specifically, but isn't the zone, doesn't it go to the goal line?
Yes.
The landing zone. So, like, you can line up to your question about, can the returner be back and then run up and catch it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can line up all the way.
Yeah.
Even if you had to line up in the zone, that's the goal line.
Yeah. That said, all the balls are going to go in the end zone anyway. And we'll
Well,
never see it.
I think that's
Right.
one chance that something changes is that teams.
Here it is for you, Fred.
Because it's the 20.
There it is. Oh, wow.
The touchback
Yeah.
is the 25 now? Or
Email me
the
that.
30?
Good radio.
Yeah.
The 30, right?
Text me that.
Okay.
The touchback is the 30 now, right?
Yeah.
So you might see more teams try to, make them get it out to the 30, without just giving it to them. I don't really, I could be completely wrong on this. I don't envision like an uptick in kickoff returns for touchdowns. I think it's going to be hard. I think it's hard. It's just like running plays. Like, you see long runs every once in a while, but not very often.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be kind of like that.
The only reason I thought maybe you might see an uptick is because, you don't have deep safeties anymore. You don't have that last man.
Well, you could.
You'd have to spin them around and have them kind of circle back.
Just like on regular kickoffs, there's some guys don't beeline to the returner.
Yeah.
And from what we've seen so far, there really hasn't been a change in the returner like skill set.
Yeah.
There's been all the sort of normal candidates.
Okay.
I don't know. I do think it would be worth talking to guys like Bill, and just to see what he could come up with. I think that would be interesting for sure. Like when you were talking to Ernie about it.
Yeah.
But I just kind of think it's going to end up being something that will take some getting used to. At the beginning, there might be some missteps because teams just aren't necessarily up to speed yet. That's why I think you do have to do it in the preseason.
It's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's definitely
something
different.
new. Yeah.
It'll be different. I think by the middle of the season, you won't even bat an eye.
I feel like I agree with you, though, Paul, that returns for touchdowns, maybe not, but like gashes, 20, 25-yard returns.
Yeah.
Like a run play. I could
Like
see
a
that.
run, yeah.
I could see that happening a little bit more. I think the most fascinating thing is it is basically like a run blocking scheme. And so, like, do they run basically like power where they're like trying to fold it and then kind of pull somebody through the middle. I also think that in the spring leagues, the most fascinating part to me was the 2 returners. So you have 2 returners deep, and then you do you can do reverses, you can do fake reverses.
Right. I was just going to say.
And you can do all that kind of stuff. And if you get that down, the reverse and the pitch and all that kind of stuff, you get it down. Some teams in the XFL or whatever league it was, they hit some really big ones.
So are you
You
allowed?
do have to do. I think you have to have the 2 returners.
So you're not allowed to forward pass here, right?
No, it's like a lateral.
No, but I do think that Evan's point is valid because that's a pretty big landing zone, and everybody's really close to the ball. So I don't know if you can just run the risk of only one guy being back there and you kick it away from him and make him cover a lot of ground.
Yeah.
It's not like the ball's traveling 65, 70 yards, and the guy has time to go and get it.
Yeah.
Now it's not traveling that far. There's much less time to.
I mean,
I think you need 2 guys.
if I was a
back there.
head coach, I might have to devote an entire practice on this when no one's watching.
Yeah, well, we've seen
You
it the
know?
last 2 practices that they've
Like,
put some extensive time into.
What is working, what isn't, you know?
I mean, it's almost got Paul interested in special
Yeah.
teams. It's
Less
crazy.
than 1%.
He's interested.
I'm not sure it has.
I am curious.
0.76%.
I will admit to being
too.
curious to see to see if Fred's right.
I'm not sure it has the impact of the pitch clock in baseball, but I
No.
think it is an interesting addition to the kickoff.
I mean,
It should make the play a little bit more competitive.
yeah, that's what I hope.
If it becomes a
Tiny bit.
problem and like there's all of a sudden there's like a rash of returns, then everybody's just going to kick it through the end zone.
Right.
Right.
Laces out.
Yeah. All right. Again, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline, web radio at patriots.com. What else? What else do we got?
This is my usual things that might only be interesting to me, but I mean, Judon, Uche, Jennings didn't really play too much, so it's really putting a spotlight for me on defense with O'Shane Jimenez and Christian Ellis and Giles Harris, like these second level special teams kind of guys. Now this could just be the starters aren't playing; these guys aren't going to be doing anything once it actually matters. But you have to at least pay attention to these guys because that's who's on the roster now, and we know what happened last year with Judon going down. If one of these guys could maybe emerge, we haven't seen Taki either. He's been out the last couple of weeks. So, just that overall defensive depth, it's a little bit lacking. And, even with Gonzalez, I feel like they're a little light with him. Like they're getting more looks at the Marco Wilsons of the world, and they're taking a look at Isaiah Bolden in the slot continuous. That's a big one to look at, I think, with Bolden with his size. He just doesn't really seem like a traditional star slot cornerback type guy that's quick and inside and can go both ways. He almost has more of a safety body type. So, some things going on defense with some of the depth issues that they have, which, again, maybe just interesting to me. I know everyone wants to talk quarterback and receivers, but that's just some of the stuff that's clocking my radar right now.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. The corners I've really watched too. Austin and Bolden, like you said. I think there's a chance that's like 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I think Alex Austin's been decent.
He made a nice
crazy, but-
breakup today on an out route in the end zone. Those are guys that might have bigger roles than I think people think. And
There's always one.
I
that
know you
breaks
guys
out.
both told me the first practice that I wasn't at about Bolden working out in the slot a lot, and still seeing that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no Jonathan Jones, no Marcus Jones,
Yep.
right, in any
Yep.
major capacity. So those are the 2 guys I expect to be in that star role eventually. But it is interesting to just see who the depth pieces are. But I think offensively, I still continue to be fascinated by the juju of all of this. And like they're doing special teams and he's off with Tyler Hughes by himself because he has no role in the kicking game. Yeah. He's the most expensive receiver on the team, one of the most highly paid players, period, on the team. And he has no versatility, no nothing. And we don't even know if he's good enough to play receiver in the first place. Now, today was one of his better practices.
He did make some catches.
I'll give him that. But I just find it fascinating that you used to talk about the Hall of Fame group, right? Like when that group didn't do special teams, when Gronk wasn't out there running special
Brady,
teams.
Gronk, Revis.
Yeah, you were like, all right, fine. But then when you see Juju Smith-Schuster doing it, and you're like, man, like what is his role on this team right now? And it's a little bit tenuous at the moment.
Okay. Web radio at patriots.com. We'll let our listeners weigh in. Micah in South Dakota writes in, not kidding when I say no more than 5 minutes after you guys went live, I saw all the QB stats from today's OTA on X, formerly known as Twitter. I cannot express how dumb I think that is, and it just makes me appreciate the PU Cruise analysis even more. None of you mentioned the stats when you first talked about the QBs outside of the 2 interceptions Drake May threw. I'd rather hear how you thought everybody looked versus the results of what happened. Eye test is the best test at this point, in my opinion, so thank you. Question is, do you think Drake May will receive first-team reps at all during the beginning parts of the season, or are they just going to let Jacoby handle those duties? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like they are grooming Jacoby to be the starter and letting Drake May ease his way into the NFL.
Yeah, they definitely are doing that. I don't know.
He will.
I mean,
he will get first-team reps to see. Eventually, before probably preseason, they're going to need to see how he looks with who they've deemed first team. He's going to get reps. I'm telling you.
There was nothing today from Jacoby Brissett that made me think this guy he's just an established veteran starter. It just, it was all kind of clunky.
They both struggled.
So by that measurement, I would say I don't think anything would surprise me.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is, but I think I feel comfortable saying that I feel like Brissett's going to open the season as the starter, and if that's the case, then he's going to be the number one guy through training camp.
I think that's
like you have to prepare him to start.
Yeah.
Like it's a different position. Like you need the starting quarterback to be the starting quarterback in practice too.
Yeah.
Like I just think that you need to do that.
Now
at some point in the season when they're ready to say, is this the week or maybe it's next week, then Drake May is going to have to get number one reps in practice that we probably won't ever see.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it every time we watch these guys throw, there's just something added bonus to Drake May's skill set that I just don't think that Jacoby will ever touch.
The little sidearm
flip
today
you
on
got
the
a
run.
little side arms. You have just I think better downfield accuracy. Like not really downfield. We're not talking about like 5 or 8 yards,
25 yards.
Even just like in these low red zone periods, he throws one into the bucket to Juju Smith-Schuster just perfectly in stride in the back corner of the end zone, and then you watch Jacoby try to make the same throw, and it's just not quite as pretty as the one that you see Drake make. And he threw the 2 picks at the end of practice. If he hadn't thrown those 2 picks,
why do you think they happened?
The first one was, I think, a little bit more worrisome than the second one.
Oh yeah,
the second one was like he read man.
Off.
Gibson red zone. Gibson sat. He threw it like he was going to keep running.
Communication thing.
Yeah. He was. That's how he.
I'm curious your thoughts on the first one.
The first one worries me a little bit more because those are the air mails that we haven't seen.
So that's what you thought. You thought he overthrew the under.
Yeah. I think he was going for the second level.
It's a consensus.
Yeah.
We all thought the same.
It was like a flood concept. So you had like the clear out vertical, and then the corner was filling in, and he was trying to throw the corner, and the window I thought was there, and he just airmailed it to the deep third.
Yeah, because it was hard to tell. Like there was like a deep over, and there was one underneath. So you could have said maybe he underthrew the deep guy, but I don't think he did.
So what's better in your
said.
mind in a situation like that? Or maybe they're the same. Overthrowing or underthrowing?
Overthrow, I think.
You can't go wrong if you're long?
I just think when you overthrow it, like if you underthrow it's because you don't have the arm strength to get it there.
Yeah.
If you do that, then you're not an NFL quarterback, right? Yeah. If you overthrow it, we can work on the mechanics of why you overthrowed it and get it to be more accurate. I thought the interception was just a little bit of that overthrow kind of airmail that we saw at UNC from time to time where the ball just kind of he just loses the ball and it's like, whoa, where's that going, sort of thing. I didn't love his body language afterwards either.
I didn't love his body language in general today because he struggled. I mean, if we bury in any of the lead, we're going to bury that he didn't throw the ball that well today, especially after last week. I thought there was some sort of momentum that we were kind of like had a little pep in our step. Yeah. Again, I buried the lead intentionally because I just didn't think it was all that important, but that some of the body language that Evan's talking about was evident. Like the head went down. Yeah. Not like Mac Jones level body language, but before anybody was like, I just felt like he looked like he was a guy.
Yeah.
That one in particular,
I think he should have hit the throw, and I think he knew it.
And I think he knew he missed the throw that he's got to make.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy throw, but
it's an NFL throw.
It's an NFL throw.
I think, too, having seen a couple rookie quarterbacks now have down days, like I remain encouraged by, and I think Evan laid it out pretty well.
Without question.
Look, these kind of days are going to happen, and, I think really good insight into, that one interception. So, but he continues to just show athleticism and, even when he just like kind of tucks it and run and nothing's there and it's a nothing play and it goes as an incomplete in the book. But you can just see that he instantly, when he's going to run, like he's going to have some burst and there's going to be something to deal with.
That's going to be an element that's impossible to evaluate until the real games play. Even like preseason games, that's irrelevant even. Like that's going to be a part of his game that I think that is going to augment his ability to there's a reason why he was so good on third downs
Yeah.
in college.
He had 16 rushing touchdowns over his last 2 years too. So in the red zone, when if there's nothing there and he can take off, there's no spy or anything in the low part of the field, and he's got that sort of like Mahomesian running style where like it doesn't look like he's that fast, but nobody can catch him.
I totally agree.
And it's just like this weird thing on his UNC tape where you're just like, doesn't look like he's that fast, but then the linebackers
guys aren't catching him.
Yeah, he's not catching him.
Well, Mahomes has such field awareness.
Right.
So
he knows where to go and when.
Everybody is on the field.
Yeah, and before anybody, like, we're not saying, this is Mahomes.
He's obviously Mahomesian.
Yeah. Well, I think he might be.
He might be.
Jack in Abba writes in about the new kickoff rule. How about a don't get greedy approach to the new kickoff? Field 9 offensive linemen and 2 returners. Line up the O-line for a set play once the returner catches the ball. Your goal is to get 10 to 20 yards on the return, not to get a home run for a touchdown. The kicking team may get caught off guard with a bunch of small defensive backs and linebackers who can't take on the 9 offensive linemen one-on-one.
Okay, so there's a couple of things. I mean, I think you'll see some. I'm not poo-pooing this because I think there'll be some different things like that are changing things up. Wow, we have a new box. New box.
This new place is looking good.
Thank you, Matt.
Nice selection, Paul.
Do we get a cut on this?
But the first thing,
free advertising
brought to you.
You don't generally have 9 offensive linemen active in games.
Right, exactly.
Number one, but number two, if you run 9 offensive linemen on your kickoff team, the other team's not going to combat that with, 9 defensive backs. Right. They're going to put linebackers in bigger bodies to take on those blocks on the field. Even if you wanted to sort of like bring something new out, they can match up the personnel. Like you see, it's just like when you run a play, like if you have like your nickel package or your dime package on there and the other team comes out in three tight ends and they're going to power the football, like you call timeout, if you can't get the right personnel on the field and stuff like that. So it's not just as easy as, well, you put all your linemen out there against all their small guys and you block them up. Well, the other team is going to match personnel too.
Maybe you could have a Toyota in the end zone with the sunroof. If the kicker gets it in the sunroof, you get 2 points. Anyway,
I'm for it.
If you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go kick the ball off. All right, Paul's Foods here. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx, and with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Excited to be back out here. Excited to have some good weather as well. Could do without the pollen, but I hear Thursday is going to rain, so if I sound a little nasally, it's the pollen. Fire away. No questions? Perfect.
We've been asking you a lot about Drake in the time we've been here, just because there's so much interest in his progression. As you've stacked the days together, what have you observed from his progression?
He's doing well. He's headed in the right direction. A lot of times people think it's this longitudinal, just straight line up to the top, and realistically, it's up and down, up and down, up and down, but hopefully you end up still from left to right going in the right direction. So he's doing well. You guys, I'm sure, will evaluate him today at practice.
What, if anything, has impressed you about Joe Milton?
I think the easy thing to say is his cannon of an arm. But just, his energy, he has a natural leadership skill as well, and he's been great for the room.
Gerard, at left tackle, you've got Chooks and you've got Caden kind of go through a similar transition from one side to the other. How much do you see them working with each other, and are they kind of on like the similar track right now?
Yeah, they're on a similar track. Those guys are out there competing, and I would say, the one word when you look at those guys is versatility. Obviously we look at Big Mike saying he has the right side locked down, but these guys are all competing. They're able to slide to different spots, and they're working out of a sense of abundance where, those guys are working together trying to get better, and once training camp gets here, we'll see what happens.
Do you feel good about those two at left tackle, or do you kind of maybe want to keep your eye on what else?
I mean, I think, look, we're always trying to bring in good players. Those guys are doing well. We'll see what happens as the roster continue to play out. Realistically, we're still early in the process, and training camp will reveal a lot.
With Drake, I'm sure you don't want to throw everything in the book at him right now. Is there a certain thing you want him to take away from this spring, or maybe if there's like one big thing you want him to learn, sort of an OTAs?
I think the biggest thing, and this has been the goal not only for Drake, for everyone, is to learn, have a basic understanding of the fundamentals and the X's and O's, build camaraderie, and get out of here healthy. That's the goal for the spring.
Gerard, how would you describe how Alex, Ben, and TC, deal with the quarterbacks? Is there a pecking order? Is there someone who has more of a heavier hand? How is that working?
Yeah, 100% AVP, and this is common around the league with offensive coordinators. Usually offensive coordinators coach the starting quarterback. With that being said, AVP and those guys have done a good job making sure the message is the same, but when it's all said and done, AVP that's the heavier hand, to use your words.
I want to go back to what you said about Michael Wenu on that right side. You said everyone sees him as having it locked down, but that's not necessarily true. Are you talking more in terms of just the competition for that spot, or in terms of him possibly moving to the left side?
Yeah, just more of the competition. Look, one thing about Big Mike, remember he came in here as a guard, and so being able to play guard and tackle is definitely something that gets you paid. And Mike got paid, but it's more about his versatility.
Is there any interest in trying him at the left side, or is he primarily?
To be transparent, not right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
With Coach Milton, obviously, arm strength isn't something that you need to work on and coach up, but what specifically do you need to work on with Joe Milton?
Sorry, say it again, sorry.
Well,
I used to have the green dot, so I can't hear sometimes. Matty P and people yelling in my ear.
With Joe Milton, obviously, you don't have to work on the arm strength, but what do you hope he gets out of spring? What are you specifically working with him?
Yeah, the number one trait for any quarterback in my eyes, and this is, I guess, a philosophical thing, is just decision making. It's nice to have a big arm, but if you can't make the right decision, you'll be throwing cannonballs to the other side, to the other team. But accuracy, competitiveness, all that stuff is definitely important.
Coach, we've noticed that the veterans have kind of been, it seems like, at the top of the depth chart in these practices. Is that more about making sure that young guys kind of earn their spot, or is it more about making sure practices run smooth?
I think it's a combination of the two. I will say this, there are no starters. It's easy for us right now with no pads on to say, well, this guy probably can do X, Y, and Z based on what he's done in the past. We're trying to move forward from the past. It's not a what have you done for me, what have you done in the past is what have you done for me lately, and that's why we're trying to continue to build that competitive nature amongst the team. But there are no depth charts. Seriously, if you look out here today, you'll see people that we consider starters rolling with the different groups. So I wouldn't look too much into that.
Happy are you, Gerard, with how efficient things have been when you guys are on the field here? New staff, just in terms of not a lot of wasted time, making sure you're checking off what you need to get checked.
It's been great, not only out here as far as from a scheduling purpose, but even inside. So we're in the classrooms, everything's been running pretty smooth. Once again, though, we're 0-0. Everyone's trying to still find their way, and this isn't the last iteration of our team this year.
Along those lines, with the size of the staff, how are you finding the process of making sure your resources and the coaching staff are allocated so that everybody's involved in playing a role out there?
Yeah, I've had one-on-one conversations with all of our staff members just to make sure that we're on the same page, not only this year, but also from a developmental standpoint on where they want to go. Look, we have staff meetings each and every day, and once again, we're continuing to gel every day, and hopefully by the time we get to the season, we're ready to rock.
Gerard, understanding, obviously, it's all OTAs.
Sorry, one more thing. And I will say this. No, because, stream of thought. I will say this. There comes a point in time where, you have to lean on the experts. And I'm not standing up here like I have all the answers, because I don't, whether it's from a head coaching standpoint or a defensive standpoint or offensive standpoint. So I'm leaning on those guys to really, they're teaching me at the same time on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it's important that those guys get those reps.
You good?
I'm good.
Just want to ask, what's something you've learned about your offense through the OTA process that you couldn't have known until you saw all the players and coaches on the field?
I would say just the overall intelligence, and look, we have a very competent staff on, I would say, all sides of the ball. But what I will say is the early down stuff has looked pretty good. And once again, there's only probably 3 trees to fall off of as far as early down stuff. Now, today you'll see us working in the red area and third down. That's where you can really see the creativity of offensive coordinaters.
We saw Steve Belichick out here at the last Open OTAs. What was it like to have him back?
It was great. Steve and I, we've been through a lot, great friends, and I'm happy for him. And he came out here; he was happy for me as well. So there's no problem there. He's like a brother.
How much have you leaned on? You talk about leaning on the experts. How much have you leaned on McAdoo when it comes to some of the head coaching stuff that you're still getting used to?
Yeah, McAdoo's been a great resource. Slater's been a great resource. Evan's been a great resource. All those guys that have been in the different programs, it's been great to use those guys as sounding boards. And really, look, I only know one way. I played my entire career here. It's good to hear some of those outside perspectives, whether we're talking about out here on the field, scheduling, all those things, and then AVP and the rest of the coordinators as well having that input.
And now, great moments in history.
My point, the thing that we were talking about yesterday,
Yeah,
is I didn't think
Paul,
Houston.
it's like you're afraid to find out something good about Mac.
What am I?
Like, I'd like to do some research. We might actually find out.
Oh,
that
so now you want to compare him to everybody, right?
I just want to know if those are good numbers.
Well, I'm going to compare all his numbers to everybody then.
I know.
He's in the 30s.
Okay.
In the league.
In most things, but I'd like to know what this is.
Okay, but you don't want to know what he's like. You
I
keep
do want to know.
But when we talk about all the other stuff, this all start. Hold on.
When did I say that? Oh, those aren't good numbers. We talked about him yesterday, and we said those aren't good.
What?
Not good.
All the his passer rating and all that stuff.
The only thing I mentioned yesterday was I didn't think Houston blitzed a lot, and you just told me the guy said he blitzed 5 times. So I was right. I didn't think Houston blitzed a lot in the game.
Okay,
and they didn't.
But now you're changing the goalposts.
I'm not changing any goalposts. You read off his numbers against the blitz.
Right.
60 attempts for 350 yards. I said those aren't great numbers.
I don't know if they are.
I'm telling you, it's not.
So you know what the numbers?
I don't care what anybody else does. 350 yards on 60 attempts is not good.
Against the blitz. I'd like to know what the averages are.
I'm just telling you it's not good for Mac Jones. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what anybody else did.
But you need to in order to compare.
No one has been blitzed as much as he has.
Okay, but just
right?
because
Didn't he say that no one got blitzed more than Mac Jones?
Yeah, so he got blitzed 65 times. The next guy might have been 64. Like, I'd like to know.
Okay, then look it up, Fred. If you want to know, I don't care.
You're spouting all this stuff up with no
I'm not
knowledge.
spouting anything.
Yes, you are.
All I said was I didn't think Houston blitzed a lot. And then the guy wrote in to say they only blitzed 5 times.
And that one thing, but we're talking about overall. Forget
the rest
about
of
that.
it is your hang-up, not mine.
It's not a hang-up. I just want to.
I don't care.
I just want to know.
Then look it up. I don't care.
That's what I pay you for.
I don't have a subscription to PFF.
Oh, my God.
That's another great moment from
Patriots Unfiltered. All right, back here in Patriots Unfiltered, 855-PASS-500. It'd be good if I turned my mic on. 855-PASS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Web radio.
Matt, you can burn that one.
At Patriots.com. No, just keep it. For the archives.
That made me laugh.
For the archives. It's good. I like when fans nitpick at us. And Scott is originally from Sharon.
Oh, nice.
Now he's in New York City.
Go easy on me.
He's been listening since 2008. Never misses an episode.
Thank you.
Although never live unless it's the draft. He says, I know grammar and language come up sometimes, so I figured I'd highlight a few oddities and errors that you still make.
Oh, good.
Paul,
I make
the word picture is pronounced picture, not pitcher. There's a C and a T in there. This was one of the first errors I ever noticed way back in PFW Unfiltered, and it's still happening. Maybe it's an Everett thing.
It's an accent thing.
That's it?
Okay.
It's not an error if I don't pronounce it the way you want it to be pronounced.
He hits it. He hits all of us.
Okay.
Fred, the overuse of the word myself is almost always incorrect. When you open the show, you usually say, it's Paul, it's Mike, it's Evan, and myself. That's incorrect. It's a common mistake, so I understand it, but the correct usage is me. You use myself only when you're the subject of the sentence, as in, I could not dress myself. Okay? Mike, your grammar is mostly correct, but you still throw in filler words that don't make sense. It's not as bad as it was. But there's one that stands out. Everyone uses like, kind of, and but your heavy reliance on the phrase a little bit.
A little bit. All right.
Is just odd.
I appreciate
One time when talking about your time,
write that down.
When talking about your time in LA, you said something like the stadium was a little bit in LA. It's like half of it was in LA.
I don't know. That's
I
apologize. And then Evan.
Yes, sir.
And maybe because you're both. Are you from Sharon too?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Please.
Because you're from Sharon, right?
Well, not originally, but I live there now.
We're actually good at sports.
I have no complaints. He says
Aaron,
about
Aaron on mine too.
He says he has no Evan complaints. I was particularly impressed with your correct usage of the word Lego instead of Legos on Thursday, which is incorrect. The plural of the word Lego is, in fact, Lego. From where I stand, you're perfect.
You must be a barrel of laughs at parties.
Aside from that,
Wait, can we just print out from where I stand, you're perfect?
He just
That's
Love
all I need.
Actually you. He had like a sign and everything. Your grammar.
Aside from that
reminded.
ridiculous moon landing videotape, come on, man, that's ridiculous. All right.
We got to get going. We got to get Evan going on his The Office Pam Beasley take, because that's
no,
another
you don't.
strong off football
don't.
take.
Oh, you in
that
love with
Evan
her?
Has.
No.
Oh
no.
no.
Overrated, you say?
I think she's a horrible person.
Oh. Like her character is
Yes.
a bad person.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Why?
Well, first of all, no, this is not. We have stuff
You
to
walked
talk
right
about
into
today.
it. We just got off the field from a practice and we got him talking about The Office. Let's go.
Let's save this for like the middle of June when we really have nothing to talk about.
All right, it's early
But
June.
just a
We can
quick
discuss.
synopsis. Just and then we'll get back to it someday.
I just think that she's a bad person.
But give me an example.
But you're talking about the character.
Yeah.
Well, she's engaged to Roy, and then she's
she
flirting
cheats
with
on Roy.
Jim.
No,
the
it's
nerd,
not
and
just flirt. She emotionally cheats on Roy.
It's an emotional
and then
affair.
physically cheats on Roy when she kisses Jim.
No, but wasn't Roy a real dick?
No, he was
But
just
he
kind of
didn't-
vanilla ice cream.
yeah.
Like he was just kind of there.
Maybe if Pam opened her mouth and let him know what's what once in a
Whoa,
while, Roy
that's
would do the right thing.
Not from the bottom of a well.
I'm just saying, if you have,
I don't even know who Roy is.
you clearly had an
Who's the
emotional.
guy from
Guy, the guy that worked in the
Downstairs.
in the
Yeah.
like loading dock. He's like
Yeah.
the blue collar, and he's kind of a dick, but
Oh, well,
you know.
they set it up so everybody that's watching says you can do better than that.
Right.
I mean, they set it up that way.
But still, Roy's got feelings. He's a person.
Roy's a person.
It's
Thank you.
like he
Well,
just because Jim
How-
is
how about when
cutesy and
she-
making little eyes
How
at
about
the
when
camera.
she just like ditches for art school?
yeah,
Just
well,
ditches.
she's trying to find herself. You think
Art
she's gonna
school?
be
Come on.
sitting at this paper company forever?
How many people do
You
you
know?
think go to art school in their 30s and then become a successful artist? I'm going to say that's a low number.
Okay, but at least she's
Now you're coming on my side.
she's chasing her dreams.
Talking my language.
She's chasing her dreams, right?
No, it just really stems. Look, you Google this, and there are
You Google it.
lists of people telling you why Pam Beasley is the worst.
Okay.
Lists.
All right.
This
I had
is gonna
never
get-
thought about it that
It's going
much.
to get some
Listen,
emailer action.
I don't know The Office enough to have an opinion, which really hurts me.
You don't know
I
The
hate.
Office?
You could just go season 1. You'd probably get
No,
the gist of it.
I've watched The Office. I just don't watch it enough to know. Like, I didn't even know who Roy was. I didn't know that Pam was engaged
Yeah.
to somebody else.
Right. You wouldn't because she's into Jim
Yeah.
the whole time.
This little cutesy.
I do know the looks into.
We got to start doing these looks to the cameras here, like when you guys are like,
Yeah. Right.
do the Jim look when you guys are going at it.
This is why Deuce was in Hollywood. 'cause
He's.
Oh, that's
Like,
why.
just a little bit. Just
likes
a
to
little
break the
That's
fourth wall a
in
little
That's
bit.
why in the new studio we're going to have 3 cameras.
He was in
and
pitches.
We'll be able to do those cutaways.
Bit. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, Dios
Yeah.
mío.
Yeah.
Is
All right.
Is that supposed to be Gloria?
I think so.
Listen, you know what?
What?
It's easy to drink.
Oh,
It's
it
easy
is.
to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots.
Sure is.
And it has been nice out. Beautiful day out today.
Gorgeous.
Another beauty.
Summer is heating up at Bob's Discount Furniture with plenty of affordable and awesome styles with Bob's Summer of $9.99. Just see just how much $9.99 will get you with your choice of outdoor dining sets, dreamy Bobopedic mattresses, sleek reclining furniture, and more for $9.99 or less. So embrace fresh air and fresher styles only at Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Let's get to the phones. Christian is in Virginia. What's up, Christian? Christian! I hear something in the background. What's he doing? Christian! Oh, going once?
how's it
Oh, there he is.
Hey.
What's going on? What happened there?
I just was walking out of my car and my Bluetooth reconnected after I locked it.
Ah, gotcha. It's the house to the car walk with the Bluetooth. Got it. Got it. AM, FM.
The old poison needle in the
Yeah.
phonograph trick.
Oh, the volume. All right, go ahead, Christian. What's up?
So I got a few things. One, I feel like there's a million dudes named Christian that listen to this podcast.
There are.
Yeah, there is more than there should be.
That
You're
is
right.
There's
true.
one with
Yeah.
a TIAN.
Yeah, yep.
And one in LA.
Yep.
Two, I feel like, I don't know if you guys have any interaction with Snapchat, but for all the listeners who follow the NFL on Snapchat, every single one of the NFL's posts has music, and it is the worst music you can ever hear. It's genuinely horrible.
Probably a licensing thing. Yeah.
That would be my guess. But it's like it's a few beats away from a fart sound effect.
Yeah. One of these days, again on an off season, I'll go on my music rant and how the music industry is leaving money on the table. But anyway, back to you, Christian.
My final thing, being in Virginia, there's not a lot of Pats games nearby, but I'm going to the preseason game with the Commanders, and I was wondering if you guys had any guess on who I'm going to be seeing. I feel like it's still going to be a fun game regardless if I'm seeing starters, with Joe Milton, and I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of guys. I'm a Patriots fan, and, I'm here to support the team no matter who I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I'll leave it with that and take it off there.
All right, thanks, Christian. Good question.
Is that the third preseason game?
Yeah, it's the third. I think it's still a dress rehearsal game from what we've seen a lot of in the past because they have that big gap between the third preseason game and the first regular season game. It's almost 2 weeks in between. So I still think you'll see some of the regular starters in that game.
Get to practice if you
So
can.
here's the question. By that time, do you think the Patriots will have made up their mind who's going to be your week 1 starter?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the case, and it's Drake May, will he play in that game?
Oh.
Week 3 preseason.
Didn't think about it that way.
I guess it depends on how much he played in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Still think he'll play a little bit.
I would think so. I mean, if he really is the starter, I think at that point you've got to get him.
Do you
as
think
much
there's a
experience
chance of
as
that?
possible.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't either.
Well, what's the question?
That
start
Drake
week
May
1?
could start week 1,
Yes,
barring an injury to Jacoby
I think there's
Brissett.
a chance. Yes, I
don't.
do.
I think that's already been decided.
I'm with Paul on that. I mean, I would think more. I could still see Drake May playing, but Jacoby's the starter. But I mean, that would kind of go against.
Yeah, and you could see Drake May in that third preseason game. I'd have to go back and look, for some of the particulars. But I
think
I
there's a
do think
chance.
that Evan's kind of right. I think that you see some guys play in that third game, and I think it makes sense to play Drake May in all 3 games. To be honest.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of my problem with the first couple of practices.
No, I think there's a chance he starts week 1.
I think there's always
a chance.
I
hope you're right. I just don't think, barring an injury, I don't think there is a chance.
What was last year like with Tennessee? Do you guys remember what? Because
That
I mean,
was
that was
all
a weird
backups.
situation.
It was a
Yeah.
lot
Was
of
that the last
backups.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Bolden got hurt in Green Bay.
Supposed to
They canceled
come-
the joints, and then they went.
Yeah.
They went down there to close it out.
That was a weird preseason last year.
Yeah, that's why I hesitate to really try to judge too much off of that because it seems like they
I
were in a
don't know
weird
how much
situation.
the starters have played since they went to 3. This is going to be what, the 4th year? 21, 22, 20. This is the fourth year, right? Because with 21 they went 10 and 7.
22,
right?
20. This is the 3rd year, I think. Isn't
No,
it 22?
21
I
was
think
the first year.
21 was the year that Mac Jones was a
Yes,
rookie and went to the
21 was the
playoffs
first
10
year.
and 7.
Oh, 3-3. Yeah.
So that was the first year. So this is the 4th time that you'll have a third and final preseason game. I don't know.
It's going to be down to 2 soon.
Yeah, I'm off.
Please.
Yeah.
But camp starts in mid-May.
I think camp already started. I think camp might be over.
Kendall's in North Carolina. Hey, Kendall.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Listening in, man. Y'all doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this question is for Evan. I got 2 of them real quick. When is the start of OTAs? I think I've seen 2 different dates from 2 different Patriots people on Twitter.
You mean training camp?
Start of no, minicamp.
Oh, minicamp.
Monday.
10, 11, 12.
Okay.
And just, okay, go ahead.
And my other question is it a guarantee that KJ Osborne will make the team, and what have y'all seen from him so far?
I think it's not a guarantee. I wouldn't put him in the lock category just yet, but I think there's a pretty good chance. And I thought today was one of his better practices that we've seen. More red zone, so it's more about space and play strength and hands, that kind of thing, and not necessarily about, can you get open between the 20s.
First day I really clocked him. I mean, the other days kind of been invisible.
He was active today. The other day I didn't see him much, but I think he's pretty close to a lock.
Yeah, a little bit of Jaheim Bell, not to shift, but I saw him pop a
Do y'all
couple
know
times.
what the injury is with Javon Baker yet, or is it probably just
No. I mean, he's around, so it's probably nothing crazy, but just seems like maybe, I mean, I don't want to speculate, but it's a kind of thing
Soft tissue?
Yeah, like a little bit of a hamstring tweak, and he can't go through practice, so he just goes down to the lower fields, does some training, some stretching, and, comes back and watches. But, look, I'm not going to lie. Like, I know it's OTAs, and these aren't, these hugely defining practices of the year, but anytime a rookie does not get on the field, it is significant,
It hurts
especially
them.
at that position.
Well, at least when Bill was here.
Yeah.
when you lose time in the off season, it builds up and it affects you.
Yeah. I mean, he used to have a formula. For every day, it's like missing 2 days. And then it doesn't take long that you're a week or so behind.
Yep.
Right. Is he going to be ready for minicamp next week? I mean,
yeah. And the whole thing, I just want to temper because I think we have this every year. Minicamp is OTAs. It's the same. The only difference between minicamp and OTAs is it's mandatory to be there.
Right.
The players will get fined if they don't show up.
Yep.
But it's going to be the same format of practice: shorts, T-shirts. Whatever.
I'm glad Kendall brought up minicamp because on Monday we'll be live for practice with the show. Yeah. So we don't know exactly when practice will be on Monday, but whatever that time window is, we will be live with this show on Monday.
Yeah.
So
mid to late morning, probably.
Probably, yeah.
That's probably the.
We'll get it out there.
So it'll be Monday. It's 10, 11, 12, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Minicamp.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and in that regard, though, just along what Paul's lines is, I mean, I think it's worth considering. They do. I saw the reported cap space for whatever that counts for, but Devon Gottschall hasn't been around. We know Matthew Judon last year was speculation, quiet holdout, eventually got a bump, but pulled money from previous year. I'd throw Jabril Peppers as a guy entering, Ramondre Stevenson. Handful of guys that if they were to look internally, maybe. Because I think sometimes around this time of year when they break, they kind of say, "Hey, let's get some guys
Stevenson's
lined
a guy
up."
I would keep an eye on.
Yeah,
last year of his deal, they're probably wanting to avoid a Josh Jacobs kind of deal, something like that. See if they can get him done, a year ahead of time. So you buy
coming off an injury,
you buy a year coming off an injury. Maybe you can get him for less. My guess is Stevenson's not looking for less, but
no,
that's a target I would think would make some sense if the Patriots were looking.
Yeah, Judon's got to want more money too. I mean, I think that's one where it almost seems like that's got to happen.
They really only have one traditional running back.
Yep.
In Stevenson.
Yep.
Like Kevin Harris is kind of like the second guy, and then Gibson's a different style back. He's more of a pass catcher. Jermichael Hasty today got like 1 million passes out of the backfield, but I don't think he's a traditional. So Stevenson's got a little leverage.
Yeah.
If that in fact is something the Patriots want to do.
Chris in Bristol GB writes in. You think that's Great Britain?
My guess, Bristol.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Because all of our counties are all.
Nobody could come up with new ones. They're just call it new or the same thing.
We're just going to call it the same thing that they do over there. Over there.
The Paul and Mike video that they did with McDaniels was excellent.
Good job.
Well done. I grew up watching Tom, so it was always a little difficult to appreciate his greatness and see it in context. Videos like this in our recent QB play have really helped with that.
It's just subtle shot, but I like it.
I guess. I have a collection of questions and requests in case it's a slow news day.
Oh.
What percentage of players would you guess take PEDs? Has there ever been a good expose on this?
Oh. I am not answering that question.
Yeah,
75.
Probably more than you think. Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of education do college football players get? I guess they can get as good an education as college offers, but what's the minimum level?
These are some interesting questions.
I think there's probably more education than you think for a lot of these guys, and I thought it was really interesting today. Joe Milton was asked, he was talking about he grew up a Patriots fan, and the reason he was a Patriots fan, he said, because when he was growing up, he was about 8 years old. His mother's boyfriend at the time always had the Patriots on, so he was always watching them. And there was a follow-up question. It was like, did that have anything to do with why you went to Michigan? Tom Brady, he goes, no, I went to Michigan for the education.
Yeah.
So I don't think that makes him an outlier. Now, do I think every guy has his education first and foremost? No. I think there are 5-star recruits that probably know they're going to play in the NFL someday, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are more people that at least have an eye toward their education than you think.
Yeah.
This is 3 of 4.
I kind of like that, the way he answered that question, but I don't know why I was so taken by that.
Why has the running game died?
It's not sexy.
That is a very...
Fantasy football.
What do you mean by died?
Well, running backs used to go high in the draft. They don't anymore.
Well, they'd still do if there's a running back worthy of it.
But there was always like
short shelf life. There's not a lot of separation between a lot of these guys. Like Evan said, there's a few that are special, but otherwise, you can kind of find a guy.
Well, so I guess it's not as much the running game died, but the passing game has.
It's a very layered question, and
Yeah.
I don't pretend to know the exact reason, but I would say that with the sort of advancements in the passing game, which have led to more points and sort of video game offenses. Now, last year was not a great example of that, but bear with me. I mean, offense is up over the last 20 years, I think we can say safely. You need to score to keep up. And if you're going to run the ball, you're not going to score to keep up.
Yeah.
You always hear you pass the score.
You run to keep the score down.
Right.
Nowadays.
Yeah, I think with passing, it's just simple math. It's kind of like the three-pointer in basketball. I was thinking about this the other day where, like, even if you're a bad passing team, you're averaging 6.5, 7 yards per pass attempt, whereas a run, you're averaging 3.5 to 4 yards.
If you're really good, you're averaging 4 or 5 yards.
Right.
If you're
So no
really
matter
good,
what, the math is going to tell you that the pass is more efficient than running the football.
Yeah.
Yeah, and couldn't you just say, like, what happened to low post play in basketball?
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's the same kind of thing.
I think about that all the time.
I know you don't, but but the
Tatum's got his
and the whole thing with running backs too. It's like
true.
Evan said if you have a guy like Bijan Robinson, obviously
Jahmyr Gibbs,
Jahmyr Gibbs, right? They're going to be separators, and they're gonna go high, but there are so much fewer of those because of this. Like for the last 20 years, it's been sort of a slant toward the passing game, and those guys are playing receiver now.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, too, is to Deuce's point about shelf life and just contract. If you're a stud athlete and you're a 5-star recruit coming out of high school and you have this NFL future that Paul was talking about, whole education thing, why would you sign up to be a running back? That's probably on the list of positions nowadays, that's towards the bottom of the list, right? Yeah. If you could be a receiver, if you could be a corner even, like you're going to have a longer career, you're going to make more money, like all those things are going to line up for you.
Yep.
That's why I said it was a layered question. There's a lot. I think there are a lot of factors that have sort of.
Final question.
Together.
I watched a video about Dak Prescott's cadence the other day.
Okay.
Can you play Mike's song, please? You got that queued up, Matt?
Oh man, I haven't heard that
cadence
one.
Cadence is
Okay.
Here we go.
This one's for Mike Dussault.
Yeah, here we go.
This one's for Mike Dussault. He made his name in blogging, and he's a youth hockey referee. And don't you ever forget those 28-3 tees. He's last in the picks, and he's sneaky negative. But he knows his hoodies and he knows them good. Did you know that he used to live in Hollywood? Okay,
here we go.
This one's for Mike Dussault.
Yeah, here we go.
This one's for Mike Dussault.
Okay, here we go.
He's sneaky negative.
Okay, here we go.
Oh man.
This one's for Mike Dussault.
Oh, that's great.
That
That
is
is brilliant.
It's gonna bring it down at my funeral,
It
play
is so
that
good.
one.
She's got to come up
It
with a
is
new
so
one, but
good.
It is really objectively excellent.
Yeah.
It's really
We
well
just-
done.
I gotta be better in picks this year, so that way she's forced to change the song. Like,
Yeah.
get rid of that last in the picks line. That's my goal this year.
Good stuff.
He knows his hoodies and he knows them good. I
do.
That's good.
A lot of talk about cadence, though, on a serious note.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Important in this offense, and Dak Prescott, the Mike McCarthy offense, is from this tree, from this family. And cadence is important in this offense, and lining up cadence between the quarterbacks and making sure everybody is kind of doing it the same way is something that they've been talking about.
Well, thanks for bringing us down. Bill and Vista. I'm only kidding. Just kidding.
Jeez,
That was a little harsh.
I'm just making a joke.
Jeez,
Okay.
Fred.
It's just a fun fact.
He's got a family.
I'm okay. It's all right.
If IU continues to hold out, is he holding out? How can you hold out in
hasn't been
OTA?
anything to hold out of yet.
Well, they have minicamp this week.
Okay.
All right.
If he continues to hold out, are the chances better that he gets traded, or do you guys think he'll stay with the 49ers? Also, would you guys rather trade for a vet stud wide receiver and develop young O-line guys, or trade for a vet O-line stud and develop your wide receivers?
It's definitely easier to get your hands on the receiver.
Yeah, I would rather get the
Right?
receiver.
Nobody's giving out those offensive lines.
No, if you have a stud left tackle, I think the last one is probably Trent Williams that truly moved, and that was years ago now. That's 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often that like a true franchise left tackle
If
is
you
traded.
guys had your choice, and let's just say that, that stud left tackle was available and the stud receiver's available, what would you rather trade for?
The receiver.
I would rather have the receiver, but I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of people would make the argument I'd rather have Trent Williams.
No. I still like hold out hope that they can just develop an offensive line. That's okay. Like, that's fine. You know, like, just that they don't have to, like, overextend, that they're just, like, they're going to be able to figure it out. I don't know, maybe that's foolish, and we're going to be talking about, you know, the tackles next year at the top of the draft, but...
Okay, so let me ask you
We probably will be, but that's...
I think that's regardless,
But
maybe.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, if Caden Wallace is a good right tackle, and you're in the left tackle market again next year, that's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question about acquiring a stud wide receiver, veteran stud wide receiver. Because I think about football too sometimes, Evan.
Dang.
He's taking a lot of shots at you today.
It's because that emailer didn't have a nitpick.
So let's just say you're in the situation the Patriots are now. You're starting from ground floor with your offense, basically, with a rookie quarterback. And a guy like T. Higgins, you can get him, but you're probably going to sign him for like a 2-year deal. Is that too soon? Because by the time the offense is starting to get good, now you have to decide whether or not to re-up T. Higgins or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like I totally know what you're saying, and I've brought this up before. I feel like you're a year too early for the wide receiver trade.
Yeah.
And I know nobody wants to hear that because everybody wants the shiny new toy, and we all do.
Right.
But really, Josh Allen got Stephon Diggs between years 2 and 3.
Right.
Jalen Hurts got A.J. Brown around the same time of his career trajectory, because you have to see, you have to build some of the other pieces up, and you also have to see if the quarterback can play.
And it's a money issue, isn't it?
I don't know if it's a money issue. I just think it's more of he's supposed to, the receiver's supposed to be the cherry on top.
No, but I know. But if I have the receiver, if I know I have the receiver for 6 years, let's say, which is kind of crazy in the NFL, then I'm okay with that, because when my quarterback gets rolling, I know the receiver's still going to be here. But I don't want to have to pay huge amount of money up front, and then he has to wait for the quarterback. I'd rather have the quarterback wait for the wide receiver.
Oh, I think you're getting into the new territory, Fred, which is, are we ever going to get to a point where the wide receivers are just overvalued and where it's going to start, to go the other way? Is there a certain point where you say every year there's multiple of these guys coming out, we're going to be better off taking 2 day 2 receivers every year rather than overextending ourselves for a special player? I don't know.
Once we say Mac Jones, not Mac
right.
Jones, Drake May's got it, then okay, let's bring in that receiver.
Well, it's like C.J. Stroud this year, right? Like they went out and they got Diggs again, but he's not. They didn't re-up him to a big deal, right? Like he's out after a year or two, I think.
They gave him some money, but I don't. Yeah, it's.
But that's like a perfect case where if Drake May were, let's say, to play this year, and not only does he play, but we really see a spark out of Jalen Polk, and then they go out and they add a second piece with Polk next year, and maybe it isn't the long-term deal, but. That's all right. We'll continue to draft these guys, and maybe we make another move down the road. But we know we've got
drafting is
at
different.
least 1 or 2.
I'm talking about acquiring a stud vet.
Right. Just insurance.
And I know your point about the quarterback, and that's ultimately the biggest thing. Is does in other words, if C.J. Stroud was sort of middling last year, do they make that Stephon Diggs trade? Maybe.
Try to put him over the top.
Maybe because he was so good, they were like, we need to get a stud for him.
Yeah.
So Fred's theory is good. I just wish we could get, and I know that I'm a broken record about this, I just wish we could get away from Armageddon in every position, every time someone signs a big contract. I'm so tired. It's always the same guys on Twitter. And then and I think it was like the guy from Over the Cap, Jason. I think he's the one who had the comparison to a Calvin Johnson contract comparatively to what the one that Justin Jefferson just signed, and it's basically identical percentage-wise to the cap at the time.
Relative.
This is not like, I know the numbers are mind-boggling. When you look at 35 million, AAV, that seems ridiculous. It's not, based on what the cap is now, and the cap is going to continue to rise. There's 9 different ways that you have to watch NFL games.
Thank you, streaming.
The number is going up.
Yeah.
Like, you're not ever really going to have to worry about, oh my God, can I have 20% of my cap tied up or 35% tied up with my quarterback and my number 1 receiver? Yes. The answer is yes. If those guys are really good, you will be really good. If they stink, you're in trouble. But because they can't play, not because of the cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim writes in, or James, I too enjoyed the Tom Brady film with Josh McDaniels, breaking down the plays. It seems like Mike and Paul were really having fun as well. I wondered if you guys felt you learned anything about Josh and his mind that you didn't know before.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was just, I mean, I think I've seen a couple comments from people of just, that's like how I felt was that it's easy to like look, wow, that was an amazing throw by Tom Brady, but all the nuance that Josh breaks down when he shows you, just specifically what made him great, what was going through his mind before the snap. I mean, it's just, and I think, I summed it up at the end of the video where it just felt like he was always so far ahead mentally and he could make correct decisions so quickly that, to me, I 100% learned what made this guy special in the eyes of people who truly, truly coach this stuff and know it and can break down every last detail. So it was awesome. I mean, the whole time I'm just sitting there with a dumb smile on my face, like, this is so cool.
And I don't know if learn something is the right way, because I think we all saw it and sort of knew we were experiencing it and maybe came to appreciate it more as the years went on, for sure. But one of the things that really stood out to me was the first Super Bowl, the 36, the one against the Rams. And Josh talked about the blitz that he saw, and it was kind of a specific overload blitz. And then 3 or 4 plays later, they tried the same thing, and he showed how much more prepared they were for it the second time, and he gave all the credit for that to Tom. And he said to Mike and I, he had as long as he saw it once, all he needed was to see it once, and then he had it. And those are cliches that we've always heard, but it was really illustrated in those 2 plays. And it was he ended up having to throw the ball away early in that that hurry-up drive at the end. And then the second time, he was able to identify the protections properly. They blocked it up, and he made a short completion to Wiggy.
Yep.
That was the final play before they kicked the field goal. And I just think it really illustrated how just smart Tom was and how quickly he processed everything.
Yeah, and I know he's watching it, but it reminds me of those golfers that know every shot that they've had.
That's amazing when they do that. I was like 13,
Yeah.
How do you remember every detail of every shot like that?
Right, yeah. Claire writes in, hello, everyone. Hello, Maureen.
Claire.
Gotta say, I love all this off-season-ness, and I adore that breaking the fourth wall thing. I must tune into the YouTube show more than just audio. So my question, with it being so early, it's difficult to take much away, but what one positive thing do you feel you can take away from what has been seen of the team so far, on or off the field?
On the field, Drake May looks like a 3rd overall pick, and that's all I really need to be excited about this team right now. And it might be a long road, but I feel fully on board with him and where he's headed and the kind of kid that he seems to be. They've got, not just him, they've got some young talent around him. And hopefully if these guys develop, then we're seeing the early stages of the next really good Patriots teams. I don't know if it's going to be the 2024 Patriots, but you can see there's some bones there to build around if these kids can play, and so far it looks like they can.
You have one?
Yeah, I would agree with just the Drake May part of it. I'm not sure if I'm necessarily as excited about the other pieces, but I think that you just see these flashes from Drake May on individual throws. Like if you put up the whole body of work, it can be clunky sometimes, like today, but these individual moments where you're like, oh wow, like that was a pretty throw, or he drops his arm angle down a little bit and throws it through a needle to Pop Douglas today in the red zone, and you're like, those types of plays I don't know if we have seen the quarterbacks make here over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And he's making them already in this early stage of things. Like, I think that's the most encouraging thing to me, is that we're so early in his career, really like a month in to him being a Patriot, and he's already doing these types of things.
Yeah, there's no doubt he has more skill than the guy he's replacing. We've seen that already.
Yeah.
I would say it's hard. For me, I try not to really look at it that way, but just there's an overall, I would say, enthusiasm around the team, among the players, among the coaches, because there's so much newness, and I don't think they know any other way.
Yeah.
I think there's just sort of an unbridled enthusiasm, and I think that's kind of been infectious, for, the couple of times we've been out there. But, yeah, I mean, I think we can see that the skill set that Drake May has. Now, whether or not he can put it together, we'll find out.
And I'll say, I know it's got very little to do with football, and it doesn't win you any games, but the cooperation we have with football now, and the communication flow, and it helps, at least our department do our job.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be giving away state secrets, but it helps us just plan.
Well,
and
I'll say it's nice to ask for something and have them say no.
Yeah.
Like in the past, you've never heard back.
But tell us why.
Yeah.
No, but here's why. And okay, I get that. But just the cooperation so far. And like I said, it doesn't win you any games in September. I get it. But, you know, we all have to work together.
Right. Well, but as fans of the team, I think you should probably already see some of the results of, some of the mic'd up stuff that we did. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if that Josh thing would have happened, in the old regime, but, I think it doesn't necessarily maybe add up in wins and losses, but if you're a fan of this team and you want, for me, getting to see the quarterback mic'd up at practice, usually you'd have to wait 4 or 5 years and then they put we had a Bill Belichick mic'd up. You didn't get that stuff a lot. So I think it's it's good for the fans.
I know I'll get back to X and the Bill bots will be all over me. How many Super Bowls? Okay, all right. Yes, I know it doesn't add up to
Who
wins.
are you arguing with?
The straw man.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you make fun of me for all the time?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Christian in L.A.
Another Christian.
It seems that with the way the schedule is, that we struggle to get past 5 or maybe 6 games. ESPN has us favored to win the top draft spot next year.
Yeah.
If that's the case,
they've updated that.
If that's the case, do we go with a stud wide receiver or a stud left tackle? That's what we were just talking about.
Or a stud pass rusher.
We're actually number 2 on their projections now. They updated.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Well, what was the one?
I never understood how we were behind Carolina.
30. We're now projected to get the number 2.
What was the one that said that Drake May's going to be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL?
Oh,
that was another one.
I
of
did not
those
see this.
projections.
Yeah.
I'm angry at that.
Who can possibly know that?
Yeah.
But
I mean, seriously.
Well, first of all, I think they think he's going to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I would say
he's going to be terrible.
We should
good enough
root
to win it.
extremely hard for Carson Beck, Shador Sanders. One of these quarterbacks in college has to have the Jaden Daniels season so that there's actually a quarterback prize at the top of this draft, because if there isn't, and the Patriots are sitting there with the first overall pick and no trade,
you don't want Jake Long.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
Eric Fisher.
Yeah, you're going to take Calvin Banks Jr. number 1 overall because you need a left tackle, and he's that's the. So if you're a Patriots fan, I would be rooting for these quarterbacks in college to actually look good, not because the Patriots are going to draft them, but because it creates a trade market for the pick.
Yep.
Andre in New Jersey, just want to say happy birthday to Paul.
Who's that?
We're not supposed to mention
Andre in New Jersey.
Thank you, Andre.
I got scolded for bringing it up.
Wishing
Scold
nothing
is
but the best for the old man.
Scolded.
Please don't retire anytime soon.
Well, that can't happen.
I saw an email. I can't find it now, but someone was asking, when does the parking lots open for Brady Day on June 12th, and will there be
when
tailgating?
Can you get here?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
3 p.m. is when the lots open for Brady Day, and yes, you can tailgate your heart away.
Oh yeah, get here early.
Yep.
Fred, out of curiosity, where will you be during Brady Day?
I'm going to be
night?
roving.
Roving.
Yeah.
Oh, man of the people.
Yeah. I'm going to be roving.
The three of us were talking as we were walking out to practice, like exactly what our plan of attack would be.
Yeah.
Where to go.
Yeah.
He's got fans that he's got to see. So.
Sounds it. Yeah.
I just want to.
I got things.
We have a lot going on. That's going to be a huge content day for us.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. As you know, content is king.
It is.
It is.
We'll be live in the morning. I mean, it's going to be. Or we should do like a full 24-hour live network, right? Again, we'll do that again.
Bite your tongue.
I'm gonna need an afternoon Starbucks.
What's that?
I heard it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What's that?
Hey, Duncan.
It was quite an accomplishment.
We start at 7 a.m. and we go till 7 p.m. right to the start.
For a whole week.
Nathan in Monterrey, Mexico. He says, "Okay, real football talk."
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
So
Mike, Mike and I will take a step back and just let Evan talk.
All of you can just.
And he's saying that sarcastically, not once you hear the questions.
Okay.
Number 1, what will be the first touchdown celebration dance that Drake May does?
Does he have those? Is that a thing he's known for?
No, honestly, he's not a big touchdown celebration guy. That like more of like that Brady like excitement, but not like it's not like he has like he's not gonna gritty. Like he's not gonna have like a signature. I don't think.
Did you see the thing with Mac Jones in the?
I did. I thought he looked a little portly. I'm not gonna lie.
My guess is Fred now agrees. He's now wearing someone else's uniform.
He looked fine.
He was fat.
Physically.
He was chubby. I mean, I shouldn't cast stones. I know, but
he didn't.
He looked chubby.
I'll put it this way: he didn't have the look of me of like, "Whoa, Mac is in killer shape right now, and he's
Right?
down there to compete for a job." It looked like he's settling into the veteran backup role nicely.
He's back home. Mom's cooking.
Right. That's probably it.
Back on the ice cream.
Number 2, over/under for number of Patriots offensive linemen wearing Guardian caps in week 1,
Oh.
2 and a hay.
No,
Under.
Under, I hope.
Under.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see. I mean,
Oh, this is in the games?
Yeah, real games.
Yeah.
Oh, they have to wear them in practice.
Right. Yeah, in the games I say under. I don't think they. It's how you look. It's
bad. Bad.
It's how you look, not how you play. It's how you look.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Bad
The
aesthetics.
aesthetic is terrible.
Yep. Jabril Peppers leads locker room celebration chant. Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
That's a big question. Who's going to
Mike.
take over for Slater?
I think they're going to do away with the how do we feel.
Me agree. Me agree.
I think that's.
I agree. I think they're going to do something different.
Yeah.
Myself agree.
Yeah.
You know what?
Was that not right?
You know what?
I was thinking to myself.
a little bit. I you know what I don't get? My son's current little league team. They don't get how to all right, Mets on 3, and then everybody says 1, 2, 3 Mets. I'm like, guys, where do we lose this along the way? One person says 1, 2, 3, and then we all say Mets together, but.
Do you
This is
take the
kind of
fun out of Little League Baseball,
I try.
too?
I'm like, what are we? Everyone's like, okay,
Do you
Mets
have
on
a
3, and then
database-
everyone goes 1, 2, 3 Mets.
Do you have a database that records what the Mets coach actually wears every game?
Maybe.
Do you guys play the trumpet?
Maybe, perhaps. No,
You know,
what's
the,
the
the,
trumpet?
the Mets
Tommy
closer.
Trumpets.
They play,
Oh, really?
He plays like the.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, we're not like the real
Yeah.
Mets like that. We're just the Little League Mets that's kicking
Greet
everybody's
the
ass.
Mets.
Like
Greet the Mets.
That used to bother me. as a kid.
That's one of. I think that's
Mr.
one of the
Met.
best.
That is a good.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Yep.
One year I was on like the Orioles or something like that. I was like, I'm a Red Sox fan. You know, I was like mad about
You
it.
never do the local teams. You always have like we're the NL West, whatever it is, or NL East, I
East,
guess it would
We
be.
were the Red Sox.
Yeah. Oh, see, didn't everybody get pissed because
That's
like
'cause
we
it's
want to be the Red
Everett.
Sox?
No,
That's
no.
because his
this
father was in charge of the league.
Oh no! This
We're
was
the
I'm
Red
talking about Little League in Peabody, but
Yeah.
I actually was on the Red Sox
Yeah.
when I was younger.
I
I
was
was on the
Orioles.
Dodgers in the minors and Red Sox in the majors.
Brady's feeling like Big Pappy.
Oh, by the way,
And the Orioles and then
shout
the
out to
Phillies.
Brian Morey, former
Shout out, Brian, for
PFW cast member, who's now
Sandwich?
the head coach of the Sandwich High School baseball team. They won their first round in the playoffs, 10-0 over Taconic.
Oh.
I didn't even know that was a team.
That's
but
way
they're
out
there.
west.
Evidently, it's not.
Well, they
won
made
10-0.
They made
No, they were-
Taconic drive.
they were good
from
last year.
Basically, Albany, New York, all
Yeah.
the way to Cape Cod to play
It-
Sandwich, and they got shut
it's
out.
so absurd. The new state tournament is so absurd.
Yeah, but 10-0, so good start
On
there.
to next round.
And the final question: does Evan shed a tear when Drake May wins his first game? Yes or no? Shed a tear? Joy?
I think if that was like in week 1,
Oh, jeez.
I think we could see it.
Yeah,
But if
Knocks
it's
off Joe
I
Burrow.
mean, I might.
Joe Burrow.
If it's like the third win of the season in like week 18, yeah.
Tears a little strong.
Tears are strong.
But
Right.
you know, I got to tell you, I'm not with Fred yet. That there's like the door is it's cracked open for him to start a lot. I just say it sooner.
There's nobody
than
that's
people
rooting
that
for
think.
you two to be right
Yeah.
and me and Mike to be wrong more than me.
It's cracked open. I'm not ready to like anoint him yet.
I would
but
love it if he legitimately has a chance to start right away.
Yeah.
I would love that. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I think it's not going to happen because they have a plan.
Right. That's my point.
But could he bust that plan open?
Right.
Ah.
That's what you're hoping your third overall pick does.
Well, I've also
yeah.
seen no evidence that that's like coming
Imminent,
either.
yeah.
But
I think that there's a chance that they look at it and say, let's give it a month just to see where all the other ducks are in a row. Well, offensive line, who emerges at receiver, all this other stuff. But in our back pocket, we kind of really know that Drake's going to start the majority of the games. But we're just not. We want to see how it looks.
the majority, you think? I'll even
Yeah.
take that.
I'm
even take
I'm
that.
starting to lean towards majority.
Okay. Travis in Watertown, Connecticut. I took my son to open training camp last summer. We had a blast. Do you know if the new regime will be continuing that experience for the Pats fans? Well, that's an NFL thing.
Yeah.
There will be open training camp that you can go to. And he says, assuming they will, what dates will be open to the public? We're hoping to make it up for some autographs. So I'm told that we'll be able to get the whole training camp schedule out ahead of time. So in the past, we dribble out 1 or 2 days and then 4 days. But I'm told that we're going to get the whole schedule of when you can come so you can make your plans ahead of time. That probably will come maybe right after minicamp.
Yeah.
They might come out with that.
So that guy that's going to the third preseason game too, I would say try to get to practice. I mean, that's.
But he's in Washington.
He's in
Oh,
Washington.
it's out. Oh, it's sorry.
Yeah.
My apologize.
Yeah.
My apologies.
That's the Rob Bradfordism.
Yeah.
My apologize.
Let's see.
I don't want you to get finger whacked.
Let's see. This is Max writing in. Greetings from chilly Santa Barbara.
Chilly Santa Barbara.
Beautiful.
As the June gloom
It's a great
lurks
underrated
over,
soap opera, Santa Barbara.
As the June gloom lurks over the coastal region, I just wanted to say excellent feature with Paul, Mike, and Josh breaking down Brady's top plays from Super Bowls. Well, they weren't all from Super Bowls, were they?
No.
Also, Evan seems ready for his close-up with his appearance in the schedule video. And finally, Fred, that crack about Paul's blood being so carbonated that if he ate a Mentos, he'd explode. That was probably somebody else.
I was going to say that was a listener.
Yeah, that
was maybe the funniest thing ever said on this
Yes,
show.
yes, excellent.
Among a million ball-busting cracks I've heard since I've been listening since 2003.
Oh,
Also,
long-time listener.
Congrats, Fred, on hanging on to Paul's amidst all the other free agent departures through the years and always putting together a great team. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I think there was a compliment in there, but kind of a left-handed one.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
thanks.
ready for my
hanging
close-up.
on.
What
Everybody
does that
else
look like?
left.
Oh, I know.
The one that was left behind.
Yeah. Tyler in Providence.
It's okay, Paul.
This is the one about
None
the
left for success, though, Paul. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Seriously, you need to get out of that well.
yeah.
Sounds like Kyrie Irving yesterday at his press
Yes.
conference.
I don't know
Hey,
what LePan did to
Kyrie.
the board.
It's the new board. Yeah. You don't have the any bass in there, I think. It's
that was better.
Yeah.
Did you adjust the knob?
Damn LePan.
Yeah.
God damn it, LePan.
Tyler in Providence wants to know, I'm wondering if you guys could give some background details on my favorite sound drop from PFW Past. It was good news out of Orlando, Florida. Dale Earnhardt died. That wasn't from this show.
That was an EEI drop that we stole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Why was that
Pete
good
Shepard.
news?
that was now Pete
'Cause
Shepard.
Pete Shepard.
No,
Good news from Orlando, Florida. Dale Earnhardt
now
died.
Pete Shepard did have a show on
Yes.
on the Patriots.com.
Yeah, he did.
But he did not say it during that show. He said it on EEI.
Doing a
What did he have
sports
against
flash.
Dale Hart? Dale
It-
Earnhardt?
no,
it wasn't. It
It
was.
was like you're
He's just
doing the
saying it.
news.
Yeah,
So between segments, and he's like, "Good news out of Daytona, Dale Earnhardt died,"
Yeah,
and
he
it's like,
didn't.
immediately he knew what the hell. But it was so funny.
Sad news. Sad news.
Yeah, that's very. What's the
Unfortunate.
no? Who's the guy that Farrell plays?
Oh,
Burgundy.
Ron Burgundy.
Ron Burgundy-ish.
Put it on the
I'm
you
Ron
put it on the
Burgundy.
teleprompter.
Yeah, Ron Burgundy-ish.
He's gonna read it.
Yeah. Dorian in Baltimore. This is about the kickoff rule. How do you guys feel about teams like the Chiefs potentially using players that aren't kickers for kickoffs to have a more sure tackler on the field? The Chiefs are allowing their safety to kick for kickoffs because he can indeed kick far.
I
Yeah,
think
he's
it'd be pretty cool.
It's just different because
Yeah.
Justin Reed actually can kick the
He
ball.
can kick it. Yeah.
So like it would be. It's like if Jabril Peppers just started kicking the ball, but he shanks every single kick, then it's not the same thing. Justin Reed's actually kicked
In games.
in games and has a decent leg, so it's they have a unique player.
Yeah, I think if you have that opportunity, if you have that option that someone can kick well enough to get it into where you want it to go, that makes some
Pretty
sense
cool.
to have 11 tacklers
Yeah.
on the field.
That'd be fun. Like a new position almost.
Yeah. Want to do some would you rathers?
Oh, maybe.
Okay. Little off-season,
J-Lo.
preseason would you rather game. One, would you rather see Barmore have 51 QB pressures, which averages out to 3 a game, or Keon White have 25 solo tackles for loss, which is 1.5 per game?
25 for
Oh,
loss.
I go Keon
Yeah.
White with that one.
That's 1.5 per game.
That would like lead the league.
Yeah.
If he had 25.
I'd do it.
Where does the
not
51
possible.
pressures come?
I don't know,
Like
3
it-
per game.
That
What's
seems
the
like
average?
a lot. Like
Yeah.
it seems like you put a lot of impact on the other team's passing game.
It is a
Yeah.
lot.
And I would think that's more important than
Yeah.
just a tackle for loss.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Keon White in the backfield a lot though.
Oh yeah. Either way, you had a monster year
Yeah.
for either guy.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
take the new superstar Keon White.
Okay. All right.
Deuce sold
I
me.
think I'd rather have the Barmore.
Me too.
So
but I
last
think
year-
but Deuce is really selling me on
Max
Keon White.
Crosby led the league in tackles for loss with 23. So if Keon White had that many, he
Oh.
would lead the league in tackles
wow.
for loss.
Oh, hell yeah.
So that's not happening. So Barmore getting 51 pressures
But which
is
you
happening.
which
Well,
would you rather see?
have,
It's not
Evan?
about
It's
which
not-
is
God.
more likely.
Right. What's more
Evan.
impactful
Sorry,
for a
I
defense?
live on Earth. That's
Unless
not
it,
happening.
unless it comes to Pam Beasley's relationships, and then I'm invested.
It's amazing how he cannot deal in hypotheticals.
Play the game.
He won't
Because
play.
If Keon White has that season, then like he's going to be a first-team All-Pro.
So you'd rather
You
have
don't-
that.
and you don't want it.
There's your answer. You'd
It's
rather
too
have
unrealistic.
He's Aaron Donald now.
All right. Would you rather have Ramondre with 1,400 yards rushing with
Break
12
the rushing
touchdowns, or Jalen Polk have 900 yards receiving with 8 touchdowns?
Jalen Polk.
Polka.
A little bit more realistic.
Oh, okay. You are talking on the air, Matt. We can hear everything you're saying. 3. Would you rather have Judon and Uche combined for 25 sacks, or Gonzo and Jonathan Jones combined for 10 interceptions?
How many sacks are they
25 combined.
I'm gonna go
interceptions.
I think I'm gonna go interceptions with Evan. I think.
Yeah.
How many? I'm sorry, 25
Yeah,
sacks
I'm
and how many
distracted
picks?
by the conversation Matt's
and
having in the background.
that's what's getting me too.
Yeah. So 25 sacks
And
combined.
how many picks?
10.
That's not a lot.
Oh, 5 each is not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the sacks. I think that impacts more passing plays.
Okay.
Than
Probably.
And hopefully you can hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
man.
we don't want to do that.
Go there.
Why do you do that?
Because you like it.
You like that.
Would you rather have Judon? Oh, we just did that one. Would you rather see Brissett have 10 touchdowns through 6 games, or May play 10 games regardless of performance?
May play 10 games regardless of performance.
Regardless.
For Jacoby
Irregardless.
Brissett.
Irregardless, T.
Irregardless.
For Jacoby Brissett. We just want nothing to do with it.
Well, after today, it was kind of like, what are we gonna do with this guy for a year?
Well, if you told me like 20 touchdowns through 6 games, then I'm like, okay, now he's like, he's ripping it up.
Yeah. I just think that when we say the door is like cracked open, it's because if they're equal, then you play the younger guy, right? And right now, Jacoby Brissett's just not doing anything that blows you away to be like, oh, he's head and shoulders better than Drake May right now. I just can't say that.
Right.
So I'd rather see Drake.
Yeah.
Jacob writes in from Orange County. You know where that is?
Very well.
Do you?
Well,
Been
the
there
question
2
is,
times.
does he know Jacob?
Well, not personally.
No?
But I've heard about him. and
Real
he's great-
Housewives
great
of
guy.
You know
Orange
no
County's a good
Jacobs from
program.
Orange
Did you know
County.
that they call the Orange County the OC?
Oh, I did. I watched
you know that?
Welcome to the OC.
Misha Barton.
Do you know that that's scripted, the show?
Oh,
the
yeah.
OC?
Oh, yeah.
The old OC
Oh, the
was a
old
regular
OC.
show.
Yeah.
It wasn't a reality show.
Yeah, Misha
Well,
Misha
neither-
Barton and
neither was the
Rachel
reality
Bilson.
show.
Rachel Bilson, and there was another.
Rachel
who's
Bilson's
the
in
guy?
that?
What's the guy's name?
Seth.
Yeah, what was his
on the
name?
show.
Seth Cohen was his name on the show, but Adam Brody.
Adam Brody, good.
Yeah, wasn't a bad. It was one of my shows, Fred. It's one of my stories.
One of your programs?
Evan didn't watch it because it didn't stream.
Yeah.
You're a big soaps guy.
It was
Didn't
on
know
Fox.
That.
Soaps.
Didn't know that. You like your soaps.
I used. Well, that wasn't really a soap, but I did back in the day. I
Well,
was
in
a
college, right?
Yeah, college. Days of Our Lives.
I watched Little Days of
But
Our
I
Lives.
loved Santa Barbara. I loved Robin Wright.
Oh.
That's where I invented Robin.
She was
Wright.
in Santa Barbara.
You invented Robin, not Forrest
beautiful.
Gump. You did.
Oh, this was before Forrest Gump.
Oh.
It was in the 80s. God.
Get on my level.
I do like Robin Wright's.
She is
I do like.
stunningly beautiful.
All right. Did you ever have a poster of a woman on your wall in your bedroom?
Negative, Ghost Rider. My mother wouldn't allow it.
Same.
I had a swimsuit calendar that my dad got signed by Kathy Ireland when she came to Reebok, and for 1 year I had a swimsuit with Kathy Ireland was signed.
Did it just like stay that? Oh,
No, it stayed on Kathy Ireland.
Okay.
I think we went back to Kathy Ireland after the year.
Yeah.
Her, Paulina Poroscova, those are my two.
Kathy Ireland. That's legit.
I didn't have
I
it.
don't know who these
I
people
would
are.
just
You don't
be
know who Kathy Ireland is?
Nope.
She was actually in a football
I know,
movie. I
come
would
on.
think you'd know it.
Necessary Roughness.
What's called necessary
With Scott
roughness.
Bakula? Was he in that one?
Yeah, he was the quarterback.
Yeah.
Yikes.
She was.
That sounds terrible.
She was something.
It was. But it was great at the same time.
Yeah.
She was the kicker.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was terribly great.
Jacob in the OC anyway. I've been listening to you guys for years and have noticed you never talk about the long snapper position. There's a
That is
reason.
true.
It's
My
locked
son is a
down.
long snapper in college, which is honestly the only reason I have an interest in the position. What are your takes on the current snapper the Patriots have? I'm a pool guy, and it's a pretty solitary gig. Listening to you all really makes my day better. Well, that's
Wow.
great. Glad.
It's nice of you to say.
Well, it's still Joe Cordona until further
Yeah,
notice, right?
that's- we don't-
So
it's
I'm
on
here
lockdown.
to make long snappers matter. I'm here for it.
Okay.
I think that what we need to do is really have some advanced metrics, some analytics
Ball speed.
into long snappers, and
Rotation.
really the biggest one is operation time. Like how long does it actually take? Snap, hold, kick, and that's what really they judge these guys off of. Like obviously accuracy of snap is important too, duh. But more importantly, once you get to this level, since most of them are accurate 99.9% of the time, it's really how fast it gets back to the snapper and how quickly the whole operation goes.
I'm intrigued. Are you intrigued, Paul?
No.
Not
he is
on
not.
that one. I think Cardona's fine.
Cardona is fine. I agree.
This is Dan in Boston. He's got a long email about, and it's a rant about Gerard.
Uh-oh.
And
you're not going to read it?
No, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's too long. But to
Censor.
encapsulate it,
Censor.
he said Gerard has basically given fans no confidence in his ability to be a head coach. And he goes on about the things he said.
He's literally coached 0 games.
Yeah. We don't know if he's going to be a good head coach.
He doesn't know. He said it.
He doesn't know.
What are some of the reasons why he doesn't have any confidence?
Things he says, like, I'm leaning on other people to teach me things. Let's see. Talks about having all these coaches, but never about how he manages them. Talks about being a rookie head coach, needing to learn. He seems to have no attention to detail. I don't know why he says that.
It's like, this is why I wanted to know some of the
Yeah.
reasons. Like, most of those don't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What have you seen that says he doesn't have attention to detail?
Yeah. I did think I asked him about it this morning because he had done that interview with Sebastian Vollmer for Deutschland. And he mentioned about wanting to be a CEO coach more than he's not calling the defense.
He's not calling plays.
DeMarcus Covington is going to call the defense. I thought that whole thing is a little interesting just because as a rookie head coach, you don't really have the Bill thing where you're going to just have your hands in every single pot and be able to know what exactly you're talking about. So a lot of these rookie head coaches or young head coaches typically just say, I'm going to call plays on offense. I'm going to call plays on defense. I'll just use the Rams for an example. I'm Sean McVay. I'm 36 years old. I just got the job. I'm going to hire Wade Phillips to be my defensive coordinator. Here's the defense. You do your thing.
Right.
I'm going to call the offense because that's my specialty. And it's almost like you have 2 head coaches in a way. Like you have a head coach of the offense, head coach of the defense. Whereas Gerard is doing the Bill thing, which is he's going to be the CEO and he's going to delegate all these different things. I just think it's interesting that he's decided to go that way. I'm not saying it's going to necessarily be a bad thing, but since he does admit that he doesn't know offense, like I don't really.
I think I'd be a little bit more thrown if he was like, I'm going to call plays now. I don't know why, but like it just seems like that would be something even new for him.
Yeah, I like the CEO aspect. I'm with Mike. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
He ends it up by saying, I'm just saying the early warning signs of being a bad head coach are apparent, and I hope you guys see them too.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm there.
What are the
there.
warning for a guy who's never been a head coach? What are the warning signs that he's going to be a bad head coach or even a good head coach? I mean, like someone who's never done it before. Like, what are you judging them by? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like McVay's a good example, and I was thinking about that exact thing when I was outside. That when Gerard was doing his press conference today, talking about how he's leaning on Alex Van Pelt, and because he doesn't know offense, so he's learning, and I can understand where he's the head coach. You want him to be confident and have all the answers, but maybe most coaches aren't honest who are first-year head coaches, and they're afraid to say that. And maybe he's just not afraid to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm learning. I don't know.
His response to the question was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
He said that he said that, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically he suggested that the coaches that call plays are trying to protect their own job security,
which I didn't really understand.
I don't really understand it either.
I think it puts you more in the crosshairs because now it's more on you.
Because we can blame you. Hey, the offense stinks. It's your fault.
Right.
I don't know. I thought that was interesting too. I'm not with the emailer by any means. But
no, I'm not either.
I just.
And I'm not saying the email is wrong. I'm just saying I don't look at some of the examples that he gave as being indications that he will not be a good head coach.
Right.
No, I mean, I think the only thing you could ask of him is the only thing that we've heard from some of the other coaches from New England that have failed have been trying to be Bill. And say what you will about Gerard, but I don't think in any sense he's trying to be Bill right now.
No,
he's trying to be himself. He's trying to admit what he doesn't know. A lot of these techniques and stuff, it's all like modern leadership study, all that kind of stuff is everything that he's trying to integrate, from pictures in the locker room to all that stuff. So, I mean, Paul's right. Like, we said it like when Bill was going to leave. Like, there are a lot of different ways that a coach can work that can get guys to play hard and get the organization, all together pushing in the same direction. So there's no guarantee. I don't really get the vibe. I don't know.
I think it's just as bad to say I know he's going to be a great coach.
Yeah.
Like, how would you know that?
Absolutely.
And how do you know he's going to be a bad coach? Like,
yeah, to Mike's point, and I do look at it, I think that would be an example of one of the things that worries me is that I think you said he's like really a lot of corporate speak, a lot of, the business kind of jargon, leader of men kind of like that worries me. Like the men, I think he had a comment about a month ago about he wants the players to run the team. And I'm not sure that football works that way.
Well,
now there are a lot of ways to do it, but I'm not sure that you can be just sort of hands off and let it police itself.
Well,
and
that's the
have
thing.
success.
I wish there was more follow up to some of these things he says and be able to delve into it, because I don't know if he means it this way, but we all know that. At least I heard Ernie Adams say it. Like, when did you know that this Patriots team in the early 2000s, when the locker room started to police itself, that's when we knew, okay, we've got a team. And maybe that type of mindset, because Ernie was here when Gerard was here, he heard that, and he knows that's a sign of a good team.
Right.
When a team can police itself, and you have the guys on your team that are enforcers.
But why do you think it got to that point?
Because Bill brought in the right people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was a discipline established by the coaches that
right.
Eventually the players said, hey, listen, we can screw around all we want, but it's only going to end up getting us in trouble.
Yeah.
So we might as well just do it the way he wants it done, and now we're policing ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm worried that, well, you guys do what you want, and I'm exaggerating on purpose here.
Yeah.
I am not, naive to think that Gerard Mayo is just like in a country club every day.
Right.
Like I don't think
and that's why
happening.
I'd like to delve into like what he means by.
But I do wonder that if are you establishing up front that you have enough discipline to then get to the point where your team can run itself.
Right. In order to do what he wants to do, you have to have those players.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between having your players take ownership and the inmates running the asylum, right? Like that's like kind of the disparity. But
if your best player is Antonio Brown, you're in trouble.
Perfectly put.
But I do think if you're taking a look at this team and looking at modern, what we know about psychology and what they talk about of how to empower people to do these things, like that's the route he's taking right now. He's taking a very modern approach to empowering people to take ownership of this stuff.
But it's still football,
and I'm a little worried about
it. And that's fair. That's fair. There's like we said. I mean, hard-ass coach, loosey-goosey coach, both can kind of win, but I think he needs the players. He needs the player, and that, again, it goes back to star players to set the tone. And if Drake May is a star and he's continuing to do what he does every time, where he's throwing passes with guys we have, if that's continuing to happen while he's a starter and he's in the locker room, first guy, all that kind of stuff, like it doesn't really matter. I think what Gerard Mayo's trying to do is, almost make sow the fields so these things can happen, hopefully, but. If he doesn't get star players, I don't know if it's going to really matter.
I just wonder, how much of it stems from the fact that when I think of Gerard Mayo as a coach, and I'm not saying that he doesn't know any X's and O's and he doesn't have any chops. Like, I'm not saying that at all. But I don't think of him in the same light of, like, a Mike McDaniel or, like, even a DeMeco Ryans.
He doesn't wear tight pants.
Well, sure, but also just that he's not one of these, like, whiz kid schematic geniuses, right? That these people are. And so his like plus trait as a coach is like his leadership ability and his gravitas.
That's what we were told.
And that was what it was like as a player too. He was, what was it? Like Bill's son or Mini Bill or whatever they used to call him.
Yep.
Gerard Belichick.
Yep.
Right. So that was like the big thing for him, was that is who he was. And I feel like that's why he's taking this CEO approach. And I feel like that's why he's doing what Deuce is saying and trying to build it in that way. I just wonder, when the chips are down and do they have enough of the brain power to go toe to toe with some of these other teams that they're going to go toe to toe with? Because if it were me, and you all know this, I'm not like breaking any news here. If it were me, I would have went the tight pants route, right? Like I would have hired like a Ben Johnson or someone like that.
Oh, speaking of him, I have something.
Yeah, his press conference turned me off a little bit too.
Yeah.
But I would have went that route instead, because I know for a fact that what I'm getting with that guy is that my offense is going to be next level.
Right.
Real quick, because I want this Ben Johnson before we have to get off. But when you said like it's the modern, and I totally agree. Again, I'm with Evan. I agree with everything that you said. My concern about that is So this is definitely the modern way, the modern athlete. Well, what do we know now, like, has sort of become prevalent about the modern athlete? They have wandering eyes. They don't want to stay, well, it's not working here, so I'm just going to go there. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to do that. Yeah. And I'm just going to go somewhere where they're going to let me do it the way I want to do it. And I think that's my concern, is that there's not enough of that discipline. I understand Evan's concern about just flat out X's and O's. I'm less worried about that because I think these guys, is he Bill Belichick? No. But I think he has enough of an aptitude for football to be able to put together at least a defense. But I don't know if they have enough gravitas in the locker room to get the players buying in on board for a length of time.
Especially
Like right now, there's a buy-in right now.
Yeah.
I think that's what I talked about. The number one thing, my takeaway from OTAs, is the enthusiasm. Yeah. I think they have bought in. I talked to Anthony Jennings a little bit about playing for a former player and how they like that and whatnot. I right now, I think they're bought in.
To start losing games.
If you're 2-8, where are
I think we're like saying the same thing in a different way, because I think the biggest thing to me is like that's his carrying trait, is that he's supposed to be able to bring people together and like that, all that kind of stuff. And I just don't know if that's going to
bridging gaps,
actually win football games.
Get out of your side.
Like they might have a great locker room and they might have like great team camaraderie and the guys might be bought in and all that kind of stuff. But is that, if you don't have that Bill chess match thing going on, like, can you win at a high level with a guy that's literally just, the CEO of the team and not really the puppet master?
Yeah. And, is there consequences for going rogue? Like, I think with Bill, you were afraid to be the guy that screwed up, and is Gerard going to be able to establish that, not coaching out of fear, but the fear of effing up?
Yeah. When Connor was growing up, did Connor do things that you never would have dreamed of because you would have been too afraid to do?
No. I did things much worse than he did.
Oh, okay. Then you got lucky.
Yeah.
My kids, I guess, are just.
But I was really bad.
Okay. So, like, I wasn't really bad. Yeah. Now, I got in trouble like everybody else, but I had an instinctive fear of letting my parents down.
Yes.
That I don't think exists.
I hear that.
And it's not because my kids do not do the right thing. They do. But I'm lucky because I see a widespread attitude that just doesn't care. They care more about letting their friends down than letting their parents down.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you were talking, Paul, too, I was getting, I feel this is kind of across sports with this generation now that's of age, and is that the inconsistency.
Get off my lawn.
Like, and I don't know, this could be old man Deuce, but like it just feels like a lot of teams across the spectrum, Bruins, Celtics included, are so up and down, and like on games where you're like, well, they don't really need this one, then they're not showing up. Like, and it's like, well, like that's kind of almost a general expectation now of modern athletes, is that, well, if it's not a big game,
can you imagine 1985 talking about the Celtics playing the Nets and this is a scheduled loss?
Right.
Please.
I see it all the time with the
half our audience is like, okay, boomer.
I see it so much with the Celtics, and I think that this is trickling in when we talk to these guys. I don't want to say kids like I'm 90, but when we talk to them at the combine and stuff like that, you see it a little bit more. And like I hear, Paul shows all the time that there's not enough dog in Jason Tatum. Right, like he's not a killer. Like he doesn't just go out there and grab it. It's like, are any of them does that exist anymore? That like maybe in one or two of them are, like that's that killer instinct that Brady had. That's
Luka has it.
That sort of thing. Like Luka might have it, but like there are very few guys, and especially American athletes, that have that type of thing going. Even like Mahomes, I feel like he's just better than everybody else. Like I don't know if he necessarily has this like killer instinct, work ethic, or whatever.
He's as close to Brady, like with that mentality. That 13-second game, like to me, was vintage Brady. All right, my turn now.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I hear what Evan's saying though, because it's almost like Mahomes is just like naturally able to do it, but I hear what you're saying.
I feel like we put a lot of stock in that in the dog.
I think,
and it's I don't know if any of them do.
Love dogs.
I think those killers all have one thing in common: is they hate to lose.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
They hate to lose almost
more
than they love to win.
Cards or ping pong or dominoes or football or basketball. They hate to lose, and they'll do anything to keep from losing. I see it like going. My favorite sport, tennis. Like these tennis players these days, they're soft.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They don't hate
They're
to lose
soft.
as much.
That's why Djokovic does so well. He's not soft.
I totally agree.
He's
Some of these
he's a killer.
Some of these young
He's a
kids,
killer.
they're pretty good, and they'll be up they'll be up a set in the fourth, and they'll be up like 40-15, and all of a sudden they'll get broken. Match is over.
Yeah.
It's like they crumble.
Yeah.
Like you were in total control of the match. You had a lapse in judgment. The other guy made a couple of shots, and then you all of a sudden you're down a break in the fifth.
Yeah.
Like that. You see it happen all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw, Paul, but Djokovic had a match at French Open that ended at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, the 5-setter?
Yeah, 3:30 in the morning.
And now he might not be able to play the next match.
Right, but the first set you thought he's not going to make it, and he ran away with it at the end, 6-0 in the last set. Unbelievable. He's 37 years old.
Yeah.
You know?
It's going to be interesting to see this wave of quarterbacks that's coming into the league.
Yeah.
Like, do any of them, I don't know, like we talked to Caleb, we talked to Jaden Daniels, we talked to Drake May. It's like, I don't know.
Someone will have it, right?
Yeah, some of them will.
One of these guys will be great,
I
right?
think so. I mean, I think it's tough to read with Drake because I think he's kind of a likable kind of kid, and but he's also the younger brother, and so I feel like those guys always kind of have a chip on their shoulder,
and they have a toughness about them because they're used to getting beat.
Right.
And his brothers
picked on.
They were good.
Great athletes.
They were good athletes.
Well, I like the fact that he came up in a house
I
with
think
a
that's
bunch
a
of
huge,
brothers.
Fred.
You had to fight for that last piece of meat on the table.
I think that is a
Huge.
much bigger deal than people made it.
I think it's a huge plus in his column.
Yeah.
Can I get a little Ben Johnson? Because I do not know.
Yeah.
So he was mentioning, like they asked him, why did you go back to being an OC and not pursue being a? He goes, I forget exactly what he said preemptively, but he said, there were a lot of narratives out there about me that people were talking about that, I just didn't want to have to deal with. And all I could think about was that guy that called up our show about yelling at the school play. It's like, is that what he's talking about? Does he listen to?
The way I
Did you hear
didn't
something
think
else?
of that, but that's not my brain.
no, you don't.
The Washington job. It felt like he basically just flat out says Washington stinks, and I'm not going to hitch my wagon to this awful team.
But didn't he talk about narratives that were about him?
But I just, the more that I heard of him talk, it was kind of like almost a little arrogant in the fact that he's like, I'm going to go only to like a cookie cutter, I know I can win and sustain here type of situation, and he's not going to go to a team like Washington who has a second overall pick and he's going to have to fix it and like put it all together. Like if Dallas fires Mike McCarthy, then he's going to be the first one in line for that job, but it's not going to be, a rebuilding project that he's got to do.
I think it is about ego because he probably feels like I'm good enough that I can choose.
Yeah.
A lot of like Dave Canales took Carolina, right? And I don't think that he probably felt like, there's only 32 of these. I can't be all that choosy. This team wants me. I don't know when I'll get my next opportunity.
Right.
Whereas Ben Johnson's probably saying, we're going to be good again next year. We're going to have a great offense again next year. I'll have my pick of the 7 jobs that will open up.
Yep.
All right, couple emails to wrap up the show. James Pettigrew, the most interesting Patriots fan in the world. Question for Fred. Did you manage to plus up Brady Day? We plussed it up. Yeah.
Beyond plussing.
Yeah. Cody writes in, thank you, Evan. I could go all day on Pam. It's the worst character on TV in history. Will die on this hill, he said.
Absolutely.
I definitely have to watch more Office.
L from Wisconsin. Evan is right. Pam is awful, but so is Jim. They really deserve each other.
So you guys nailed it.
Yep.
You too.
I knew they'd be out
Jim
there.
is in a very happy relationship with Rashida Jones's character. Then they move back to Scranton when they branches merge, and Pam just completely torpedoes it from start to finish to get Jim back. And it just, I could go on and on.
Okay.
I'm done.
And then Rashida Jones had to go work for Parks and Recreation after that, right?
Yeah, well, same
Like
kind of
right around
writers,
the same
but-
time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. When are we going to be back? Thursday, right? Oh, no. Yeah,
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Today's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday.
Okay, I'm mixing up Brady Day and mini camps. So we'll be back Thursday, normal time, correct? Okay.
Right.
See you then.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.